Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live broadcast. It is Sunday, the 28th of September, 2025. Of course, I'm CareyHolzman, and today I'm going to show you how you can download and install Windows 11 25H2 before it's released. How can I explain this? It's already done. Microsoft has finished it, and Microsoft is in the process of getting everything set up for the massive amounts of downloads it's going to get. And, you know, Microsoft hires tens of thousands of people around the world, and there has to be a coordination with regards to how this is released. So all the work is done, right? The people who do the work, think about it like a building. Somebody's built a new building, a house, whatever. Construction crew comes in, construction crew does their work. When all the inspections have been passed, the construction workers, they leave. Who comes in next? The next crew. That's going to be your cleanup crew. That's the people who perhaps do all the touch-up work and all the finalization before the house is put up for sale, but the house is done. With that being said, a real estate agent might take you into a house that is not yet publicly available or listed for sale, but they could say, for example, we can go in there and we can look around and the house is pretty much done except for little tiny things, and then if you want to put an offer in, you don't have to officially wait necessarily to buy the house from the owner prior to the house being listed. So prior to Windows 11 25H2 being available publicly for download on Microsoft's official Windows 11 download page, it is available for download for the technical side, for the next crew, the crew that comes in to do the final. The cleanup on this side isn't done with the 25H2. The cleanup's done on the website. There's a lot of programming code that has to change on the server side, on the website. And then they have to coordinate that with the PR team that'll go out and send the press releases out to the news organizations. And all this has to be coordinated. Or you think about a parade, if you like the Macy's Day Parade with the hot air balloons or the inflated floats, I guess they call them. Those floats were built and running probably days or weeks before the parade. But they weren't on official public display typically until the day of the parade. And yet during the process of setting up for the parade, if you're working behind the scenes, or if you know somebody who lets you in, you'll see all of the floats already done before anybody else does. That's what this is. This is not a beta. This is not a pirated thing. Everything's officially coming from Microsoft. Now, you're going to get 25H2 on Windows 11 whether you like it or not. The question is, you know, if you're already running Windows 11 24H2, it's going to download automatically. If you have Windows 11 23H2, all of the updates for Windows 11 23H2, those will stop on November 11th, this coming November 11th. Each version of Windows has a deadline, and they won't support it anymore. So let's say you're running Windows 11 23H2 because you didn't want 24H2. For some reason, which makes no sense to any logical, reasonable human being that I can possibly imagine, you just decided 99% of the world is all wrong. I don't know what people think. So all you did is prolong the inevitable because you have to have 24H2 eventually. And then same with 25H2. That's when I say you're going to get it whether you like it or not, unless you stop using Windows 11. Or you leave yourself vulnerable, which the hackers love it. If you make that choice, you make their life so easy. You're easy pickings, man. That's just like low-hanging fruit. If you want to be low-hanging fruit, you can do that. But if you just leave things alone, you'll automatically get the updates. So that's all I'm trying to say. So if you had Windows 11 23H2, and now I have alerted you that you're no longer going to get updates after November 11th, this coming November 11th, 2025, what do? Well, you put on Windows 24H2. It's free. Or just go ahead and put on Windows 25H2 and skip over 24. Either way, whatever you want to do, it's free. But if you don't do anything, you won't get any more updates after November 11th of 2025. Now, that's not to be confused with Windows 10. Windows 10 end of life for its last version was 22H2. That ends October 14th. We're just about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks away. And what that means is, again, Windows 10 will continue to work indefinitely, just as Windows 95 would work today if you installed it. But you'll be low-hanging fruit the longer you wait without updates, month after month after month. Probably by the 1st of January 2026, you might as well just go ahead and leave all your doors and windows open and unlocked in your car, in your house, and just invite thieves on in, because you're putting up no obstacles and no barriers for them to steal from you. I'm assuming you don't want people to do that, but maybe you do. Maybe you like the idea of someone coming in and stealing everything because you were too, I don't know, I can't be bothered to clean my own house, so just let somebody rob it and they'll actually be doing the work for me. Maybe that's your logic. I don't, so the internet is a strange place. But under the presumption that you don't want people stealing your stuff, your identity, or infecting your files with ransomware, one would then assume you'd want to be secure. It's funny to me, I have to explain what should be just plain common sense, but these are the times we live in. But that being said, Windows 10 end of support is October 14th, 2025, coming up soon. So hopefully you'll be on Windows 11 by then, or you can get the free extended 1 year of extended support following our other video. That'll get you additional support if and only if you take these steps. You'll get another 12 months of security updates for Windows 10. That'll bring you to October 14th or 15th of 2026. And then by then, well, maybe we'll all be dead and it won't matter anymore. You're just procrastinating. For whatever reason, you do have that choice. Your choice. I'm not telling you what to do. If you make this decision, expect these consequences. If you're okay with it, good. If you're not okay with it, change your decision. Windows 11, on the other hand, 23H2, last year's version, that expired, actually 2 years ago, that expires November 11th, 2025. And that means you're not going to get any more security updates unless you put 24H2 or 25H2 on your machine, both of which are free, both of which should have happened automatically. Well, 24H2 should have happened automatically by now, unless you intentionally put up a roadblock to prevent it, in which case you might as well just wedge your door open so it can't be closed anymore. That way people can freely enter your home. If that's your logic, I guess you're a hippie. Nothing wrong with a hippie. You think the world is a commune. You know what? Bless you. I don't know what else to say about that. So in any event, you can download 24H2 right now if you have 23H2 and resolve that November 11th deadline. That's the only way you can extend that. If you're running 24H2, as most Windows 11 users are, then the next version that gets released, maybe within the next week or two, that will be Windows 11 25H2. Next year it'll be 26H2. The year after that it'll be 27H2. I think you're kind of getting the idea of Microsoft's very complicated naming scheme, right? Now, you will get that automatically if you're like most people. It'll just happen. But if you're watching my channel, you're probably a little bit more of an enthusiast or technically savvy person, and you might want it now. You may say, you know, all the masses, they're going to all move like sheep. As soon as that press release comes out and Microsoft makes it available, there's going to be an entire herd of sheep that don't think for themselves, that go, everybody else is doing this, I'm going to go too. You can be ahead of that curve by simply downloading it today if you want to. It's very simple. And I brought out the the Minis Forum MS01 machine. It doesn't matter which machine we try it with. I just grabbed this one because it was available. And I'm going to show you live how this is done. And a shout out to Paul Thurrott, who has written an article about describing and providing the links that are for the technical people, right? And I'm just going to show you, you don't have to be technical to know how to do this. It's actually quite simple. What is the technical side of it is knowing you're getting an honest and real, non-beta, legitimate, authentic, genuine copy of Windows 25H2. And that's my job. That's what I do for you guys. Since I'm doing this for my customers, I simply turn on my camera and I share my knowledge and experience. I share my research and I share my results. When I have results to share, I make content like this where I can confidently tell you it's safe to move forward. At the end of the day, just like I said before, your decisions, your consequences. So, but I'm going to show you exactly what you should expect here as we do this live.
You have several emails.
And I have several emails. All right. Well, let's get to the emails first and say hello to everybody joining us in the chat. Good to see everybody in there. A shout out to our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, who sends us an Amazon gift card in lieu of Super Chat. That is his Super Chat. Thank you, Buster. All right, let's see what we got for emails before we get started here. Another Super Chat from our friend Charlie with $15. Oh, Charlie sends us a very nice Amazon gift card as well. He says, I missed a couple of shows, been catching the reruns. And yeah, dealing with some stuff more important than our show, it sounds like. Well, hopefully that's all going to work out in your favor there, Charlie, and thank you so much. Very, very generous contribution. Mark Gaines with an Amazon gift card. He said, this is my contribution instead of a Super Chat. Why are people doing this instead of Super Chats, you might ask? Well, YouTube takes 30% of any contribution, whether that's a membership, a Super Chat. So if you were to send a Super Chat of $20, Amazon's going to take $6 of that. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, $6. Then that's going to leave me with $14, and then they'll send me that $14 in about a month or two. If you send an Amazon gift card instead, and you send me $20, I get $20, and I get it within about 10 minutes of you sending it. So if you'd like to see more of your contribution go towards the channel and less to the mega corporation of Meta. Is it Meta? No, that's Facebook. It's Alphabet. It's Google. I think Alphabet owns Google. It's such a big corporation. It involves so many other little tiny companies. YouTube is a tiny company. Google's a tiny company. Waymo, et cetera, and then it's all it's put under this big mega roof called Alphabet. And Alphabet may have an owner for all I know. This stuff changes so fast. But yes, so that's why we're seeing so many Amazon gift cards that are Super Chats. And that's why. And so again, thank you to Mark Gaines. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Buster, even prior to the show starting, already sent us his Super Chat. And yeah, Charlie, thank you so much. Super generous. In fact, all three of these gentlemen, Charlie, Mark, and Buster, have all been historically very, very supportive. And without these guys and without you folks here, we probably would not have today's show, because nobody sponsors this. Nobody's paying for this content except for the people in green and some people in blue there. That's their memberships. That's what's helping pay for this. So the memberships are $10 a month. I get $7. YouTube keeps $3 of it. And that's supposed to feed me, basically, to make feed the channel, feed the content for 30 days. $7 is all I'm going to get. So in any event, that is working for us, though. I mean, I'm not getting rich, but we're able to keep it going thanks to you. And then a lot of the things that we buy to review, we're buying from Amazon anyway. So why not just go straight to Amazon, cut out the middleman? And that's what we use the gift card money for. So if you're wondering, how does all this content get paid for? It's because of viewers like you. And that keeps us free from sponsorship. Oh, I wanted to tell you a little bit about sponsorship. It's not that I'm against sponsorship. It's just got to be the right company. It's got to be a product that I endorse, that I recommend in my real life business. If it can't be something I would use in real life, I will not recommend it to you. And on top of that, to make it even more difficult to find a sponsor, we need the sponsor to do something special for our viewers. We need the sponsor to be able to say, okay, for your viewers, they'll get a special price. I am happy to announce that the company that we have been partnering with to get legitimate supported Windows and Microsoft Office license keys is back. We have updated links in our video notes today, and I quickly want to introduce you. It's essentially the same company, but they've renovated, and they can take PayPal as payment. Let me pull up on the screen some screenshots of the website here, which shows their main site. It shows the process of entering our coupon code that's going to get you 30% off. And then when you enter that, you're going to get an email with your license code, and you'll put that in and say Windows is activated. And that's VIP-URCDKEY. Now, if I come back over here, I can do this live right now. If we look at today's video, let me share the screen with you guys. Where's my... Okay, that ought to put it on the screen. When you look at today's video, you'll notice down here, it's telling us how many people are watching, etc. And then it says more. When I click on more, there's the links for everything we're going to talk about today, the subject matter of today's video. And then as we scroll down, you'll see right here, oh, it's a 25% off coupon code. My apologies. These are the links you'll use to save money on buying Windows. Now, you'll see here there is a Windows LTSC version. I do not recommend this. So just because I like this company, I don't necessarily recommend everything they're selling. All right, just so you know. But it's your decision, and I don't want to omit information from you. I want you to make your own decision. So we're not going to hide this from you. So if you insist on getting Windows LTSC, this is for an IT department to maintain. That means if you don't have an IT department, you're not going to get a lot of updates. That means that your Windows isn't going to do what your friends' Windows do. You're not going to have all the bells, whistles, and features, because that's to be provided by a corporate IT department. But if you feel like that's okay, well, like I said, well, I don't recommend it. If you brought me a computer with Windows LTSC, I cannot work on it. There's not much I can do other than recommend you get a Windows Home or Pro. But that's okay if you're never bringing your computer to me anyway and you do your own work. Again, it's not something I do professionally, but you might do it as a home user. I wouldn't even do it as a home user, but that's because I know better. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a Windows 10 Pro right here. Now, the reason I go with Windows 10 Pro is because you can use a Windows 10 Pro license to activate a Windows 11 Pro operating system. You see there's about a $5 difference when they both do the same thing. Or at least in one direction. Windows 10 will activate Windows 11, Windows 10 Home to Windows 11 Home, or Windows 10 Pro to Windows 11 Home or Pro. You have to use the right product key. So this product key is for Pro. If we click on this link, it opens up their website. You'll see the price to $24.86. We'll click Buy It Now, and we're going to have to create an account and log in. You must do this if you want to get a product code. How else do you think they're going to get that to you securely? You think they're going to send a pigeon? So you create an account for free. And the other thing is it'll keep track, if you're buying multiple license codes over time, it'll keep track of your purchase history. So if you ever lose a license code, you can always go back in your purchase history, just like Amazon, right? And pull your codes back up, going all the way back for years. So nobody wants your email address to harass you. Nobody's out to get you. They simply want to provide you what you're paying for in a secure manner. That's it. After you sign in, it'll take you back to the main page, and then when you hit Buy It Now, you can then go to your cart to check out, and you'll see the option for the coupon code. And if we look back over here, it says coupon code is Carey right here. So just, you don't have to worry about upper and lowercase. Just type it in correctly, spell it correctly. You'll get 25% off the price. So this looks like the 25% off price here, $18.60. Then if you install Windows 11 Pro, using media creation. You download Windows 11 or Microsoft Office directly from Microsoft. You want to make sure you're getting the real deal, not some virus-infected, pirated nonsense that other places might sell you. So you download your legitimate Windows or Office from Microsoft. You install your Windows 11, just as we demonstrate here. And you will choose that you don't have a product code during the installation like we always do. I always do it that way. If you've never seen me do it, watch any of hundreds of videos I've done over the years. It's always been the same process. Once your Windows is installed, there's no hurry to activate it because Windows functions perfectly without activation forever. It just leaves a watermark and it prevents you from like changing your wallpaper and stupid stuff like that. So you actually don't even have to buy Windows if you don't want to. If those little annoyances don't bother you, the operating system will work forever. That being said, once we verify that everything's working and we've got everything installed and we're going to have no reason to send a computer back, that's when I go and buy the license key. It's the last thing I do. I'll get an email that explains to me the process on how to get or download the Office software or the Microsoft software. We would have already done that anyway. And then it shows you your license key. You enter your license key when prompted in Windows. It activates over the internet, just like any other legitimate product key will. And then that product key is tied to that motherboard with regards to Windows for the life of the computer. You can't move it to another computer. And that's one of the reasons you can get it so inexpensively. Now, if you have any troubles downloading, then, here, let me come back over to camera one. If you have any trouble downloading or activating the software, they have live 24/7 chat support, and you can chat with them. If the chat support's unavailable for any reason, you can email them, and they will assist you. Sometimes people make mistakes. So let's, whether that person was you or them, it does happen sometimes. It's not often, and it's not common, but most of the time it's a user training issue, that the user's doing something wrong. Their support is there to help you. So the first thing you should do if you run into any issues is reach out to them. If you have found that they have not satisfied the concern or the issue you have, then reach out to us directly, because the buck stops with me. I don't know any other content creator that stands behind their sponsors the way we do, but I'm telling you right now, they are highly motivated to make sure that you don't have to email me. Because if I keep getting a ton of emails from people saying they have issues that aren't being resolved, then they're no longer eligible to be a sponsor of this channel. Okay? But everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but I always correct my mistakes. That's the important part. Did we correct them, and did we do it expediently, or did we procrastinate and come up with excuses? This is important. It's also important you remember there's likely a huge time difference between where you are and where they are. What might be the middle of the day for you might be the middle of the night. Always allow any tech support from any company 24 hours to get back to you. Especially if it's a business day. If it's a weekend, give them 24 hours. Like if I were to email them today, or anybody for tech support, there's a good chance they're already into their workday on Monday, right? They're 12 hours ahead. They're already perhaps at work. Also, sometimes there are holidays. There's a big Chinese holiday coming up. It's 2 weeks long. Man, I wish we had holidays like that here in America. 2 weeks where there's just going to be a skeleton crew. And it only happens like once a year. If you happen to have an issue during those 2 weeks, you might think it's going to a dead letter box. This is so uncommon and it's so rare, but it does sometimes happen. So if you go 24 hours without a response, go ahead and email us. Our email address right here. But most of you will never need to do that. In fact, I would probably say if 100 of you bought license keys, there'd be maybe 1 or 2 of you, maybe 3, that have either a misunderstanding of how it works or have an actual legitimate issue that needs to be corrected by them. It's very uncommon, but it would be exaggeration to say it never happens, but it's always corrected every single time, even if I have to correct it myself. Okay, so I want you to buy with confidence. Everything's legal, everything's legit, everything's backed up with regards to support. They've got your back for 6 months after you buy this. So there you go. All right. And welcome back. We're so glad to have them back. We've had a number of people wanting to buy Windows and Office keys, and I've offered to go and get them behind the scenes, but it's really additional work for me. And I would rather that you had your own record and receipt and product key in your own name rather than in my name. So we're so happy to have them back. If you're looking for a secure way to buy a real, legitimate, genuine Windows or Office license key, they're real. They will support you. You can buy cheaper license keys and roll the dice, hope they work. If you have any problems, hope you'll get help. A lot of places, the cheaper they are, the less likely they're ever going to talk to you again. Give us your money, here's a code, that's it, you're on your own. I don't do business with companies like that. So for this company, for me to recommend them, you have to understand it wasn't, when we were looking for a place to buy Windows and Office license keys, this took a lot of research because most of them out there, they absolutely did not meet my standards. All right, so with that out of the way, a super shout out and thanks to them and welcome back. And yeah, if you've been waiting for those keys to come back, they're back now. All right, let's jump back over to the chat room and let's see, who do I have joining us today? Leon Johnson says hello. There's Chris Toon joining us. Mark Gaines says hello, as does Eddie Casanova, David Herzog, and Scott. I see Eddie Casanova and Dean Summersheim saying hello. Dennis joins us in the chat. Jonathan Fells. I don't know. I think I said it funny. Let's see. Of course, our channel administrator, Marilena, hanging out in the chat room, joining everybody. David Graham says hello, as does Dave. First day with the new lips. Gary Bickle joins us. Andy says hello. Luke Greenio from Vermont says hello. John Lewis joining us from Brazil. John Williams, Madman Dark Jedi, says hello. Francisco Oma says hello. Doman 2000 and scrolling. Matt says hello. There's Rick Lakes joining us. Good to see you, Rick. Sam Lazar. Sam, I think, is in Australia. Is that right? Frank Jimmy says hello. There's Charlie Purdy, Bill Sody. Barry Klein says hello, as does Mats Olof. Good to see you, Mats Olof, joining us from Sweden. Mark Gaines is joining us from Northern Ireland. Of course, Buster, our friend Peter Laycock, joins us from Scotland. Bonnie, Scotland, I should say. Chris Garrett says hello. There's Dazzle555, Richard DeFries. There's Ben Laird, also from Scotland, saying hello. Dale Fredenberg says hello. What are the new features in 25H2? Well, interestingly enough, most of the new features have already been released through feature updates. Again, LTSC users need not apply. These feature updates have been released through monthly updates throughout this year. So 25H2 is really just, in an unusual move from Microsoft, it's a very tiny little file that just kind of caps off the updates as a marking point. What do you call that when you die in a game and you respawn? It's like a respawning point, so that you don't go further back than that. So 25H2 is really, very unusually, a very small and quick install if you've been keeping your Windows 24H2 up to date. On the other hand, if we're going to do a fresh, clean install, then we need to make a new installation media with 25H2 and all those updates already in it. That's about an 8 gig download. It's a full new installation of Windows 11, and we're going to make a new installation media today as well. So we're going to do two things. We're going to install Windows 11 25H2 on here, which should take about a minute or two, very quick, because we've already kept everything up to date. Then I'll take out my Windows 11 installation media, and we're going to erase it and recreate it again. And then every install you see me do live on the channel from today forward will already have 25H2 on it, and then any updates that we get will be from our respawn point. Think of it that way. It's a respawn point. So we don't have to re-download all those updates from last year. They're already baked in. So if you want to know what those individual features are, it's far too many for me to get into, but there are plenty of articles online and other YouTube channels that are going through all that. And I'll leave it to you to just search out new features 25H2 and then pick the article or the video that is most interested to you. Regardless of what the new features are, it is mostly, for me, a security concern. I always want to make sure the computers are running the latest updates for security. The latest features I don't really care too much about, me personally. That's why I'm directing you elsewhere, because I don't know the answer to your question. I know some of the new features that were added, but it doesn't make any difference in my world. It might in your world, though. Let's see. Dr. Dave says hello here in the chat room. Caniac44 joining us. And Chris Garrett, has Windows 11 25H2 been released to the OEMs? I can tell you that Windows 11 25H2 is now in release to manufacturing. So one would assume yes, but honestly, I'm not an OEM, so I don't know the answer to that. Does that matter? I'm telling you it's officially done. So whether or not it's been released to OEMs yesterday or tomorrow, what difference does that make? I'm confused with the question. Frank joins us from Holland. Welcome in, Frank. Steve Strains joins us from Birmingham in England. Claudio Ventura says hello. Ada Rivera joins us and says hello. I'd just like to take a minute to say hello to everybody that likes to join us and participate with us in the chat room, because this community is absolutely amazing. And if you're not interacting with our community while we're live, you're missing half the show. Like, there's some amazing, helpful support, questions, friendships that blossom here in our chat room. That's just a pleasure to watch and live through vicariously. And it's all free. Just come on in, and all you have to do is be a nice person. If you come in being a jerk, you're going to get kicked out just like a jerk. If you come in spamming or being a bot, you should know what to expect. Whatever you give is what you're going to get back here. And I think I got everybody. Francisco Oma says, are any of you still running Windows 10 64-bit and enrolled in the ESU yet, like me? We do have a video that shows you how to take care of, if you want to be on Windows 10 another 12 months, we have a video that shows you how to walk through that process for 12 months of more security updates. There'll be no more feature updates, just security updates. And David Ice says hello. Mark Gossman said, is 25H2 better on drivers? 25H2, 24H2, 23H2, 22H2, they all use the same drivers. The drivers aren't based on the operating system. I think there's some confusion about where drivers come from. Drivers are the responsibility of the peripheral manufacturer, and it's their responsibility to write those drivers in order to have a smooth operation with whatever operating system they support. If it's Linux, it's their job to write Linux compatible drivers that don't cause a system crash or incompatibilities. If it's Mac or Apple, if it's Windows, it's the responsibility of the hardware manufacturer. So if you have an issue with drivers, that's not a Microsoft problem. It has never been a Microsoft problem. Let's point the finger where it belongs. Some companies are horrific when it comes to their drivers, and the best advice I have for you is stop buying from those companies. Period. That's it. Now, if you're having any specific driver-related issues, we're here to help you. But pointing the blame to Microsoft isn't going to solve your problem. It never. If you're looking to point blame at people for your situation, you're never going to resolve your situations. But when you're ready to take responsibility and do something about it yourself, and you're looking for a little help, we can absolutely help you. But if all you want to do is point blame needlessly without accepting responsibility, we can't help you. So pick your path and adjust your expectations. Sometimes people say things, especially on the internet, where they go, well, what about all these issues? We have no idea what you're talking about. What issues are you? I'm not aware of any driver issues ever in Windows 10 or 11. So if there's something you know that I don't, please mention specifically what it is, because blanket statements like that, personally, they're not helpful to anybody because we have no idea what you're talking about. All right, so we will help you, but it's got to be sincere. That's very insincere to imply that Windows has driver problems. I've been in this business going on 35 years, and I'm just being straight up with you. I have no clue what you're talking about. But if you have a specific driver to use that as an example, I'd love to hear about it, because that'll be the first I've heard. Mark said, I've read that Microsoft was removing legacy drivers for 25H2. I read that I'm 10 feet tall and I weigh 4,000 pounds. I also read that I'm a millionaire. Oh, and I also read that I own a Tesla. I mean, none of that's true, but I read it. So what legacy drivers do you have that you're concerned about? Let's start with that, and then let's work from there. Let's not start all the way at the end. Let's start at the beginning. What legacy drivers do you have that aren't working, or are you concerned are not going to work? You know, hardware doesn't last forever. Just to stay on this topic for a minute, if you bought a scanner, a flatbed scanner to scan documents in 2002, and you think that that scanner is going to continue to work and have updated drivers in 2025, well, best of luck to you with that logic. It's possible, but not likely. Manufacturers that have old, outdated, for people who don't know, legacy kind of means vintage. So if you have vintage drivers, it's probably to vintage hardware. Vintage hardware, the engineers didn't have a crystal ball to make it compatible with the future. They don't know what's coming. As a result, they create new hardware to accommodate the new operating systems. If you keep your vintage hardware and your vintage drivers on your vintage computer, you'll never have this problem. But with regards to this nonsense, I would love to know specifically if it is in fact nonsense or if you have a genuine concern. People, they get caught up in clickbait, and it's very effective. It has nothing to do with most people, and people get upset on behalf of other people, and those other half of people don't exist. They're made to believe they exist. That's why we need to know, is this imaginary? Is this in your head? Or do you actually have an issue? Because we can't help you with the imaginary issues. We can't help you with other people's issues, because other people probably don't have issues. You're being manipulated. But if you are one of those people that has issues, or you're concerned about it, what is it? You need to tell us that. In order for us to be able to help, you have to be more specific. And we have to know that you can answer the questions which obviously you would not be able to answer if you weren't having any problems. Like, I want to know what the problem is. Well, I don't know. I'm asking on behalf of somebody else. Well, why aren't they asking? Do they not have a computer? Like, why would you step into that role? Did they ask you to? What's their name? Nobody asked me to. I read an article and now I'm being a social justice warrior about something that doesn't exist. I see so much, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but more often than not, this is what people do. So I'm asking you to kind of rise above that. And again, if you actually have any real issues yourself, we absolutely very happy to help you. Pixelbyte says hello from Greece. Right on. Welcome in, Pixelbyte. Owlcatcher said they did some Googling, and it seems Microsoft is removing some older versions of drivers on Windows Update that already have newer versions there. So it seems to be a generally non-issue. Most of the time when people are freaking out about something they've read about, it has nothing to do with reality. I cannot stress this enough. You guys need to stop believing all this crap, or just continue to live your life, you know, being angry and pointing blame at something that doesn't exist. Darn you, Sasquatch. Have you heard what Bigfoot did today? Nessie, she got me again. Chupacabra. You know, you could play that game, but I try to actually get actual work done. So again, I do encourage you to ask questions, but about actual issues you actually have, not about what you've read about. Again, I've read I'm 10 feet tall. I have read online I'm 4,000 pounds. And I've also read online that I'm a millionaire. But that hasn't made me any taller. It hasn't made me any fatter. And it hasn't put any more money in my checking account. If it did work, I would encourage it. All right. So yes, if you yourself are having any particular issues, or you're worried about something in particular for yourself, not for other people, for you, we would love to help you. And if you know somebody that needs help, we'd love to help them, but not through you. They need to come and ask, and we need to talk directly to them. We'd be happy to help them. If they can't be bothered, then neither can we. It's a get what you give kind of scenario here. All right? Hey, Emerald Computers joins us in the chat. Why is Emerald not blue? Let me fix that. We're going to add Emerald Computers. That's our friend Jason. It looks like, so this is Jason. He says, it looks like Microsoft caved and added a year of support to Windows 10 in Europe. What do you think the chance they will do it in the US in the next week or two? I don't think it's likely. I don't know. Microsoft surprises me constantly, and they play their cards close to their chest. They're already offering the 12 months free for just backing up the settings of your computer, not the data. They don't want your, they don't necessarily want your data. Just all you have to do is create the Microsoft account, tell it to back up your PC settings, which is a little teeny tiny bit of data, and then you can sign out of your Microsoft account. At that point, it assigns you a license code. This all happens behind the scenes, and that extends your updates to Windows 10 for 12 more months. So I don't know, it's already free. Will they remove that barrier to having to, you know, sign up for it? I don't think they will, but you never know. They could.
We have email.
And Mara says we have more email. All right, well, again, we'll check email here before we start up today with our process. This is a very quick process, so we have lots of time. Bebo here in the chat room with a $10 Amazon gift card. Right on. Thank you for that. And Luke Greenia with a $25 PayPal. He says, because every little bit counts, my friend. This is true. This is very true. And thank you guys so much. Thank you, Luke. Thank you to Bebo for supporting us here so we can continue with this kind of content. All right. Let me plug this in. And if you do have any questions or concerns, go ahead and ask. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Some people are put off by my directness, but it's not It's not intended to do anything but help guide you onto the right path. And that way we can prioritize. Let's say you walk into an emergency room in a hospital and they say, "Why are you here?" And you say, "Because a friend of mine is sick." Okay, so why are you here? I might be sick too, I don't know. All right, go have a seat. Why are you here? I've been shot in the chest. Okay, we're gonna handle you first. And why are you here? I broke my leg. Okay, we're gonna handle you next. And you might be in the waiting room before they ever get to you for hours and hours and hours. This is no different. It's triage. So let me get, oh, I've got some cables right here. Let's get power, internet, HDMI. Look how well prepared I am today. And keyboard and a mouse. I really shouldn't have set this up here, blocking all those fans. Torturing my poor computers. All right, just turning those on. We'll plug our USB keyboard and mouse in right up here, and I'll hit the power button. Blue light is on, so now we'll come over to this input, or output rather. This is HDMI 3 on my OBS. And hopefully, yeah, there it is. So the Minisforum MSO1 is one of my favorite mini PCs ever. And it's about, what, a year and a half? 2 years old? It's at least a year and a half. It's got to be 2 years old now. And it's still, it's a rocket ship. Not to say that other mini PCs are maybe there's others that are, there definitely are other mini PCs that are more powerful. However, not as upgradable and not as small as this. So with that being said, I have multiple mini PCs we can demonstrate this on if you want to see it happen to any particular mini PC that we've reviewed lately. I'm sure I've got it sitting close by and we can fire it up and I'll show you. But this is our regular desktop. And one of the first things you want to do when you start this process is make sure you've got all your latest Windows updates, first and foremost, that are being offered. Now, this video is going to be stale. It's like buying some bananas. The bananas are going to turn black here within a few days. You don't get a lot of time. Or an avocado. You buy a fresh avocado at the store, and by the time you bring it home, it's already gone soft. But here's the point. All I'm trying to say is, make sure you get all of your Windows 24H2 updates before you start. When this video is a couple weeks old, you will probably then automatically be given 25H2, negating the whole point of this video. So this is just for the next couple of weeks if you just want to jump a little bit ahead of everybody else. So you'll see I've got just a security update. That's not that important. That's an antivirus definition file. But you know, at the same time, it's not hurting anything either. Now, if we go over to my channel, let's close that. And let's go to YouTube. And let's type in CareyHolzman. And that should lead us to today's video right here. Okay, so this is us watching us right now. When's this? It's now. It's now? Well, now it's then. Well, when's now? Now's then. All right, then what's next? Sorry, it's a Spaceballs reference. Right down here, we'll click on the More button, and you'll see there's a link to this article at Thurrott.com. And Paul Thurrott did a great job of explaining this if you want to read more about it. Okay, but these are your direct downloads from Microsoft. And you'll see it's coming from Microsoft.com. If you hover over the links and look at the bottom down here, you do see these do come directly from Microsoft. Now, if you have an ARM64 based Windows computer, these first two are for you. But I can't imagine, aside from myself and maybe one viewer, I don't think anybody else is running ARM64. The rest of us, the vast majority, are running x64. So all we need to upgrade to 24H2 is this little tiny file right here. When I click this file, look out, it's only 167K. That's super tiny. And while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the ISO image because I want to make new bootable media afterwards. You don't have to do this part. But since I'm here anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, I want to verify the version of Windows that we have. So I'll right-click on the Start button, go to System, and I want to verify this is 24H2 in here. Right there, version 24H2. Okay? Can all agree on that? I want to wait for this download to finish. We already got this one. The reason I want to wait for this to finish is this is going to install so quickly, I'm afraid it's going to restart, and this will get interrupted. So I want to make sure that that will complete. It just needs a few more seconds. Perfect. I'll click Open File, and I can close the browser. I don't need it open anymore. It says, do you want to install this update? Yes, I do. And now 25H2 is going in. Did you blink? Hit restart now. And when we restart, we now have Windows 25H2. However, it's always a good idea to go back to Windows Update anytime you've gone and received updates to check again to make sure that there are no further updates. So the Elgato no signal on your screen, that's my capture card saying, hey, that computer you plugged into me seems to be off. That's because it's restarting, just like what your monitor at home would do if you were restarting your computer. Only I'm using your monitor right now as my own. It can throw people off sometimes, especially if you're watching full screen. You know, my computer's rebooting. No, that's my computer. I'm just the only guy in the world with 300 external monitors connected. Thank you for letting me use your monitor. Let's right-click on the system tray. Not on the system tray. Right-click on the Start button. Go back to System, and let's check our version. 25H2. Okay, so now the last thing we want to do is see if there's any updates. So one more time, when we will do it 2 or 3 more times as needed until we come back and it says there are no more updates available. I think there might be one. Just one. Let's see. Yeah. And it's a cumulative update for the .NET framework. That's fine. It's not that big of an update. And so while that's happening, let me come back over here to camera 1 for a moment, because we can multitask. We can do other things. Whenever you see me like reset a computer, a laptop, mini PC, or I'm installing an operating system on a brand new build we've done, you'll always see me grab this flash drive. This is my Windows 11 flash drive, and even the label I make is starting to get all faded out now because it's been used, I don't know, just this year alone, I'd guess 200 times I've used this. But I don't want to continue down. When I have to do a reinstall of Windows, I don't want to install an old version of Windows. That's a stupid waste of my time. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do it, why would you install something old? So we're going to recreate this once a year. Every time a new version of Windows comes out, we recreate this to have the current version so we don't have to then update to the current version after a clean install. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. So I'm going to go ahead and do this annual update. If you've been watching my channel for multiple years, around this time of year in the fall, whether it was Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows Vista, this has been an ongoing thing that I always have to do. The only difference is the frequency. Microsoft has decided they want to do this annually. For a while, they were doing it every 6 months. I would have to do this. Now, when I say I have to, what I mean is I'm trying to work more efficiently. If I don't do this, I mean, I don't have to. I can continue to install last year's Windows and then download all the updates. If I like it to take longer and eat up more bandwidth, I can continue to use this. But I want to work more efficiently. And when I'm going to go through the effort of reinstalling or doing a fresh install of Windows 11, I always want to use the latest version available. So updating once a year is no big deal to me. In fact, this is going to save me a lot of time. If I've used this 200 times this last 12 months, just imagine how much time I've saved because I'm still not running 23H2. Right? This is 24H2. We're going to change this to 25H2, and I'm going to show you how. It's very easy. First, I'm going to plug it in anywhere back here into a USB port. I only do this once a year, just to be clear, once a year. Once it's made, it goes in a drawer. I never have to alter it again. At that point, I'm good to use it frequently or infrequently, up to me and my needs. And then when 26H2 comes out this time, around this time next year, you'll see me do this again, and it'll all feel like deja vu. All right, so let me get back over here. First of all, let's see how we're doing on our update. Might need a reboot. It does. Let's get the reboot out of the way. And then let me come back to camera one here for a minute, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to download a tool called Rufus. Rufus is the secret sauce in how I never have to worry about creating a Microsoft account on my installs. It is 100% following Microsoft policies. There's no manipulation to the Windows operating system like a lot of system utilities will make illegal changes. And by that I mean they violate Microsoft terms and policies, but they don't care. And the end users, they don't know any better. And then 6 months or 18 months down the line, an update won't install for them that seems to be installing for everyone else. Sometimes the reason that happens is because you've run third-party utilities on your system, whether it's CCleaner or Glary or System Mechanic or some content creator made a system. They might help you initially, but the only way you're going to know how well that utility was written is in time. You'll find out. And the problem is when you run into problems, you're not necessarily going to think what was it that caused it, because if you're the kind of person that downloads system utilities and content creator programs, you'll never know which one caused it. But likely one of those did cause your problem, which is why you're experiencing it, not everybody else. For example, some people say they don't get the Windows 10 Extended Security Update offer. And one reason for that could be because you've disabled all the telemetry settings. There's a certain telemetry setting that must be on. And if you're like, well, I care about my privacy, well, congratulations, you just locked yourself out of the extended security updates. What are you talking about? I did that 12 months ago. Yeah, and now 12 months later, it's time for your consequences. Now, of course, you can set that back, turn that service back on, go ahead and enable your extended security updates, and then go turn that service back off. But that's only something somebody so technical would do that an average user would never have done to begin with. So if you're going to dig that hole, it is a hole you will trip in. I promise you, give it enough time. So when it comes to me and my business, we don't permit our clients to run those third-party utilities. We don't run them. And when you hear other content creators talking about, my customer had this problem or my customer had that, and oh, by the way, look at this free utility I downloaded. I don't have any of those issues. What's different between us? What could possibly be the reason why we don't have those issues with our clients, but they have the issues with their client? Oh, what was that utility you use? I've never heard of it. I wouldn't run it. I wonder if these two things are together. I'm just looking for the differences. If we all do everything the same and the computers all behave the same, then the only difference is the end user or the technician and the decisions they're making that they don't realize have great potential for consequences way down the road. It may not be immediate. It may be when 26H2 comes out. Now suddenly you're going to have a problem that you created because you thought, oh, I'm going to make my operating system better. Well, maybe you did for that window of time, but now you made it worse. Whereas grandma, let's just say grandma, who doesn't touch any of that stuff, her system's running rock solid, doesn't have any of the problems you're having. Think about it. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm telling you what you should expect based on what you do. These are your decisions, and you should make them with the full knowledge of the potential of consequences. Nobody ever talks about the consequences. When somebody's got a utility that they've written that this will clean up your bloatware and turn all the privacy settings off, and it's all free and you can download it, what do you think happens when your system doesn't update or it causes your system to have problems? What liability do they hold to you? Nothing. You did it to yourself. If I set a glass of poison here and I say, hey, this tastes great and it'll quench your thirst, you go, oh, this is good. And it does quench my thirst. And then you die. or you suffer for months as your body's healing. Just be careful. Be careful. Choose wisely. This is the way. Let's get back over here. I'm sure it's rebooted by now. And let me go full screen again so I can show you this whole process. So the first thing I want to do is I want to download Rufus. It's a great free application. It's very small, R-U-F-U-S. A simple search should bring up the very first link to Rufus. In fact, the first couple of links are Rufus. And it says you can create bootable USB drives. Well, that's what a Windows Media Installer is. And they've got advertising to pay for it. That's why you see the advertising. So we want to download, for me personally, I want to download the portable version of Rufus right here. Although they're both the same size, the regular version and the portable, there's not a big difference. I'm going to just grab that portable version, and you'll see, once we close this ad, we should see that download start. There it goes, right there. And we're going to open up Rufus, and we'll close the browser. We don't need that open. Do you want Rufus to check for application? Sure, why not? All right. What do we want to do? It recognizes that the flash drive I put in has this title on it. This has a label that was created by the Windows 11 23H2. This is the default label that Microsoft puts on it. And we're going to overwrite it. We're going to erase it and recreate it. So the first thing I do is I hit the select button and I choose the ISO image I just downloaded. All your downloads go into a folder called Downloads. Am I going too quick for you? So if this doesn't open into the Downloads folder, click the Downloads folder, and the thing you've been downloading that you can't find is likely right in here unless you changed it, and those are your consequences for changing it. All right, so I'm going to double click on it, and Rufus automatically knows what this is. This isn't just any ordinary ISO file. This is one of the most popular ISO files in the world. And even though this just came out, Rufus was also recently updated. I don't know if you caught the date on our build number, but we're running Rufus 4.10.2279. And if we go back to Rufus, just to look one more time before we start, pay attention to the date on Rufus, because the application developer, the Rufus programmer, is busy keeping this up to date. When Microsoft does something like this, whether they like it or not, if they want to remain compatible, they have to adjust and accommodate for Microsoft changes. So if you look at the dates, this is the 24th of September. This just came out 4 days ago. So you don't want to run it. You might say, oh, Carey, I've already got Rufus from the last time. No. Delete that. The internet is your storage cabinet now. You don't need to be hoarding anything anymore unless it's pictures or content that you yourself have created. You're not the creator of Rufus. There's no business you have storing somebody else's stuff, because again, it's going to lead to problems down the line if you keep using it that way. You are making decisions that are going to leave you with consequences where, for example, in this case, it isn't going to work. Carey, why doesn't Rufus work for me? Well, are you using Rufus 4.10? No, I'm using Rufus 3.8. Well, gee, did I say to use version 3.8? Well, don't be a jerk. Well, just follow what I said. Why are we having this discussion? I'm going to do it differently than you, but I expect the same results. All right, so I'm just trying to be helpful. Like, what do you think? I'm just trying to understand. What did you think was going to happen? All right, so this just came out. All you have to do when you run it is you select the ISO you downloaded, and then you come down and you verify this is where you want it to go. I don't have to change anything because it's the only flash drive I've got. So there's really nowhere else for this to go. But if you have multiple flash drives plugged into your computer, that's your decision and your consequences, and you're going to have to scroll down and be careful that you pick the right one because you're about to erase it. Okay, so I'm advising you, for best practices, only have one flash drive installed at this time. You can plug the other ones back in when you're done, and if you're too lazy to do that or you have other reasons, be very careful over which device you pick. There's nothing for me to pick because I only have one device. I cannot make a mistake. We selected our ISO image. That's the only thing I had to do. After that, I just hit the start button. It says, I noticed that you're creating a Windows installation. Would you like to adjust these personalized preferences so you don't have to deal with them every time? For example, do you want to remove the requirement to check for a certain amount of RAM and TPM and secure boot? No, I would be profoundly unprofessional to put this onto a system that doesn't meet requirements. That's something a home user does, or a hack. Do you want to remove the requirement for an online Microsoft account? Yes, I do. Now I don't have to run bypass NRO. Oh, bypass NRO doesn't work anymore. Who cares? I don't use it to begin with because I've created my installation media with Rufus. So regardless of whatever the steps are, oh, now the steps are this instead of that. I don't do any of those steps, period. Regardless, it's completely irrelevant. Do I want to create a local account with the username of user? Well, I often do that for some customers that bring in computers for repair or being delivered to clients. I always want to fill this in manually, even though most of the time I do select the word user. I don't mind typing USER. This isn't really saving me much. So for me personally, my choice is to leave that off. Do I want to automatically set my region values to like US, etc.? I could, but I don't want to. Why not? Because I don't want to. Do I want to disable data collection? No, I want my location settings always on to set my date and time, and to keep my date and time always current, whether I lose minutes or gain minutes or daylight saving time. I don't want to deal with it. So the only other box I'm going to check is this disable BitLocker automatic device encryption. This is particularly when installing Windows 11 Home Edition. And regardless, I think BitLocker is somebody's devil to deal with. Like, if you want to go down that road, if you think you're so important and people want your stuff, knock yourself out. If that makes you feel good, that is the number one way clients lock themselves out of their own computers. They lock themselves out of their own computers with BitLocker. And as far as I know, any amount of data theft it prevents isn't measured. I have basically 0 reports of data theft with people who don't use BitLocker, except for if they get a virus. But if you got the virus anyway, it still wouldn't help you. So essentially, like if somebody stole your hard drive or stole your laptop and took it to a pawn shop, no, even then they'd probably still get it. I don't, look, there are government regulatory agencies that require BitLocker in certain medical and financial fields, for example, and they have no choice in order to abide by those laws. But for home users and for most businesses, this is a big mistake to turn this on. So I want, for these reasons, I'm explaining to you why I'm making my choices. You don't need to explain to me why you make yours. I'll live with my choices and you're going to live with your choices. Now this says use Windows CA 2023 signed BitLoaders. I don't even know what this is. So because I don't know what it is, ignorance is bliss. I'll look into it later, but I just check those 2 boxes and click OK. And then it says, hey, you're going to erase everything on that flash drive. I'm like, well, duh, go ahead. And now it is erasing this flash drive that is my Windows 11 24H2. And just ignore these updates as the drive is being redetected based on what Rufus is doing. We're going to come back over here. In fact, I can cancel that, or just, I want to see that it's writing the data onto the flash drive right now. Now, when this is done, this means that we can now use this flash drive to install Windows 11 Home or Pro 25H2, no differently than we were using it before, only now we're going to have the last 12 months of updates already baked in to Windows 11. So then any further updates after 25H2 are all we have to update instead. So there's only going to be like 1 or 2 updates right now, but ask me again in 8 months and there's probably going to be a lot more, right? Because Microsoft releases security updates on the 2nd Tuesday of every month. So the longer we go from today, the more updates we're going to have. And then this time next year, there should be a 26H2 that contains all of those updates already built in. And around the wheel goes. Now, this only takes a moment, depending on how fast of a flash drive you have. You definitely want an 8 gig or larger flash drive. I personally use a 16 gig SanDisk Extreme flash drive. I don't think they make them anymore. But you could go bigger than that if you want to. I always plug into a blue USB port. And I do that because that means that's a faster USB port to take advantage of my faster flash drive. The faster flash drives do cost more money. They're also built better. And SanDisk makes great flash drives, by the way. But regardless of that, if I plug this flash drive into a black USB port, it's going to run like a flash drive from 10 years ago, which is more like walking than it is running. But all I'm trying to say is, when time is of the essence and you want to get it done quickly, or as quickly as possible, then you want to plug a fast flash drive into a fast USB port. That's why I tell you, don't waste a USB 3 for your keyboard and mouse. If you have USB 2 ports, you're not going to type any faster plugging your mouse or your keyboard into USB 3. Leave those USB 3 ports open for stuff like this, because it can make a big difference, especially if you're working as much as I am. If I have to wait for installs and I can't really do anything else on a small bench until that install is done, why would I want to have to wait longer? Now, as you can see, we're already done. In just a minute here, oh, I thought it was going to pop up with a notice. So we get no notice. It just says ready down here and hit close. Now this is still a little confused, but at this point, if I remove the flash drive, let me just show you. If I take this flash drive out, and then I'm going to put it right back in again, it'll redetect it. And this is our Windows installer, 25H2. I'm good for the next year. That's all I had to do. And we're all set up for the next 12 months of videos. Anytime I have to install Windows 11, it's going to be the same, only when I'm done, I'll have 25H2 instead of 24H2. It's free, it's legal, it's legit. It comes from Microsoft. Rufus is a well-known application. It's trusted. It's been a cherished resource, open freeware that's been around for many, many years. And this is how you do it right. As far as I'm concerned, there are other ways to do it. Some ways take longer than others. Some ways are more confusing than others. And this way, I can bypass the NRO without having to bypass the NRO. It's all done for me. This is an annual job that takes about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, done. We're ready to use it. All right, so let's see if you guys have any questions for me here. Emerald Computer says, try a USB-C thumb drive. Well, the reason I don't use a USB-C thumb drive for a Windows installer is I have customer computers that roll in here, and some of them have USB-C for the last couple of years, but most of the computers are older. In other words, they're not made, like the older the computer is, the more likely it is going to come in for repair. Newer computers generally don't. And the interface to USB-C and USB Type A is the same. It's exactly the same. It's still following the USB 3.2 protocol. Now, there are flash drives that have a connector at each side. Typically, people want USB-C flash drives for their phones to back up your data on your phone without putting it out in the cloud. You want it yourself. And you can use one end of the flash drive to plug into your phone, back up your data, unplug it, and then use that same flash drive to plug into your computer with it's the same flash drive, it's the same USB protocol. It's going to work exactly the same. It's the reason why you don't see me using a USB 4 flash drive. I don't have a customer with USB 4. Eventually, in time, you know, it may be that most people start having USB-C, and it might make sense. But right now, that's too specific. USB Type A works universally, whereas USB Type C only works with people that have it. As a field service technician, I need to bring the tools I need to a client site, and that's enough tools. There's no sense confusing myself with other types of flash drives for certain occasions when the other one works just fine regardless. So, but it doesn't work any differently with USB-C. It's fine. Same thing as I demonstrated here. Bill Sony said he just ran this on his mini PC and it worked exactly the way I showed. Thank you. Right on. Well, thanks for reporting back, Bill. see what else we have in the chat room here. Yeah, Jason at Emerald Computers mentions if you sign into a Microsoft account, that really should be a requirement to use BitLocker, because Microsoft automatically saves your BitLocker key in your Microsoft account. So a lot of times when people get themselves locked out of BitLocker and they don't know what their key is, they have no clue what the hell you're talking about. If they have a Microsoft account, then they just have to sign into it and we get the key back. That's super easy. The problem is we run into people that would rather cause themselves harm because they imagine there's some nefarious reason other than marketing that Microsoft wants you to sign in. It's just marketing. Like, I don't know why people think anybody else cares what they do. This is so bizarre to me that we live in such a world where people think they're self-important, and we don't even know your name, right? We don't know who you are. Nothing you do is so scandalous it's making the news. But if you're a celebrity, a politician, you're somebody really well known, if Mr. Beast goes out, or who was it that just did that? Lil Nas X goes running around dancing in his tighty whities in the middle of the street, high on drugs, supposedly. It's front page news. If you or I do that, I mean, if you could make it to the news, you let me know, but you'd have to do something pretty extreme, and you're probably only going to do it once. Because at that point, you're probably going to get locked up for a very long time if you did something so extreme. But sometimes people go, I'm not going to give Microsoft my information. They're spying on me. No, they don't even know who you are, man. And not only do they not know, they could give a rat's behind. They really don't care. Unless you're somebody of power or influence, different story. And until you are, you have what's called security through obscurity. You can do whatever you want. There's still consequences, but they're not published on the news. TMZ isn't following you around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure none of you here have ever confronted TMZ where they have, put a camera in your face. They'd have to know who you are first. So let's get that figured out. Let's figure out who you are before we worry about anybody spying on us. What difference does it make? Hey, look, I got this. There's a guy in Germany. His name is what's a typical German name? I can't think of anything. Gerhard Schmidt. Look, Gerhard bought some personal items. Oh, you're interested, aren't you? Don't you want to know what else Gerhard bought? Let's scroll through. Let's spy on Gerhard. Who cares? Seriously, do you care? Strange world we live in. All right, with that, am I still on my soapbox? We could care about things that are actually important and actually spend our energy and our time being more positive and building things rather than trying to put up walls against imaginary monsters. I would prefer that. That's just me. You can build walls to imaginary monsters to protect yourself from ghosts. Knock yourself out, but I can't help you with that. Owlcatcher said he's got Office 365 and Xbox Game Pass, so you have to have a Microsoft account. So what? Who cares? Can you imagine if you bought a computer from me or from anybody, and when you turn it on for the first time, your new computer, it has a login for somebody else, like the guy you bought it from? Or it shows a history, like you go to log in, it says the old login name is cached? How unprofessional is that? Can you imagine if you bought a Dell computer brand new off the shelf at Best Buy, and you take it out of the box, you cut the tape, you're the very first owner, and you turn it on, and the person at the factory who tested it logged into a Microsoft account? That's a used computer, last I checked, and it's profoundly unprofessional. That's why I don't sign into a Microsoft account. You understand? I'm not a home user. I've got real world clients, and they expect not only the same level of professionalism they get from Dell and HP, Lenovo, they expect it another tier higher than that because I'm a custom builder. So I can give it more attention to detail than a factory worker ever could. And when you call for support, you don't get a team in India. You talk to the guy who built it. So I have to not only match that professionalism, I have to go above it, not below it. I don't have any issues with a Microsoft account. It really matters not to me. Furthermore, you can always sign out of your Microsoft account when you don't need it. And just if you're just somebody who's turning it on for ESU or you're turning it on to save your BitLocker key, you can go ahead and sign out of it after that. And you never have to sign into it again if you never need it again. So I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's just people are running away from ghosts. And if there were ghosts, the ghosts have no interest in you. If you were to ask a ghost, why are you haunting me? They're like, you're in my way. Would you get out of my way? I don't even know who you are. I'm not here to haunt you. I don't even know who you are. And would you leave me alone? As far as the ghost is concerned, you're haunting them. Crazy world. Let's see what else do we have in the chat. Now, if we go to Microsoft's website, let me show you this real quick too, just to explain this. This is not on the public-facing side yet. This is more on the technical side, this official download. It will, once they make their public statement, they'll release, the marketing company does this, not Microsoft. Microsoft's marketing company, who represents Microsoft, appears to be Microsoft, but it ain't Microsoft. They will make the announcement to all the news agencies. They will issue a press release. Windows 11 25H2 has been released. When they do that, you're going to see a bunch of content created from websites and YouTube. Hey, it's out. It's already out. If you know, you know, okay? And when they do that, at that time, the website will be updated. But it's not updated yet because the press release hasn't been made yet. So if I come back over here, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about and where you can look for yourself. I'll show you where to look for it because it's always been there and you just may never have noticed. And if you want to wait till it's officially, publicly released in the official way, this is where you can check when that happens. I just type in Windows 11 download, and you can use Google or Bing or whatever. And the very first link we get here is from Microsoft.com and download Windows 11. When the site comes up, it's going to tell you which version this is, right here, current release. As far as the public official statement, this 24H2 is the current release. But in just a matter of days, maybe a week or two, but probably days away, this will be updated to 25H2, and that means this software is updated, and this download is also updated. It's a lot of work, so they can't just snap their fingers. Let me put it this way. How many Microsoft employees are there? And which one is it to do this job? And if you think it through, it probably doesn't make sense that it's one person. There's probably an entire team dedicated to this website. There's probably an entire team dedicated to the software configuration and creation of the update. There's an entire marketing team. It is made up of hundreds of departments, and each department having hundreds, if not thousands, of employees, and they all have to coordinate together to make this happen. And while that's happening, the first thing that has to happen before they can move forward with offering it, before any of the other departments can move forward, the software team has to be done. They're the first team at Microsoft that has to say, we're ready for the other teams now. We're ready for the web development team. We're ready for the server team. We're ready for the PR team. So then those teams coordinate. And while all this is going on, since the software is done, people that know this information that I'm providing to you can skip the line and go right to the front. It's the same thing you're going to be getting in a few days or a week or so, whenever all those teams coordinate. And you'll know, there'll be all kinds of press releases. You cannot avoid it. If you prefer to wait, go ahead and wait. I don't care. If you want to get it now, it's the same thing. You're going to get the exact same thing. That's why I'm making the video. I would not recommend a beta. I would not recommend downloading software from a shady website. I never have. I never will, because I have a business to run. And that's not professional, and it's not responsible. And likely I would no longer be in business if I did that. I treat my YouTube channels as an extension of my real business, and I'm telling you the same things I tell my customers. The only difference is my customers, they pay me quite well. Sometimes when people don't pay for things, they think it's worthless. And so that's the world we live in. Would you like this for free? That's junk. Would you like the same thing for $10? $10, that's a bargain. Can I get two? This is the world we live in now. In order for somebody, in general, there's always exceptions, but in general, the population tends to think of free as worthless. But if you charge them, they often sense gratitude, like, hey, really, you're going to sell it to me that cheap? Thank you. It's a weird world. If you really want to help somebody out, don't give them anything for free, because most people don't appreciate it. And in fact, they might expect it from free from that point forward. Once you've established it has no value, why would they think it has value later? You set that up. If you do that, that's what you're setting up. If they know it costs money, you say, hey, this is normally 50 bucks. I'll give it to you for 20 bucks. When you would have just given it to them, have them pay the 20 bucks for it. It's better for you and it's better for them. That's how they show their gratitude. That's how you have a sense of, hey, I really helped this person out. If you want to give something away for free, don't expect anything in return except potentially grief. You know, there's an old expression, no good deed goes unpunished. So somebody's going to come back and say, hey, you know that thing you gave me, it's causing all these problems. How do I fix it? Or it's your fault. None of that would have happened if you just would have kept it yourself. On the other hand, if they paid for it and they come back and say it's causing problems, at least you're getting paid for your time. Oh man, I wish the world wasn't like that. I really wish that was the exception. Unfortunately, the people who say thank you and they show appreciation, they're the exception these days. And you have no idea the appreciation I have for that now. So, yeah, ask me how I know. Lone Wolf says Windows 11 was developed during COVID. It makes me think it's not going to be a great upgrade. Well, you can think whatever you want. You know, there were babies born during upgrade. There were babies born during COVID. Those babies aren't good babies. People are predisposed to find excuses to appeal to whatever internal bias they have, and damned be the facts. If you have any real world examples of something in Windows 11 that as a result of COVID is not as good, I'd love to hear it. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the most ridiculous reach for an excuse that I've ever heard. If you can't be specific with what you're just going to just throw a blanket over it and say, well, that was built during COVID, so it's got to be bad. Nothing good could ever have come out of that. Nothing will meet the same standard that applied before COVID. That standard went away. What, the quality control requirements? Don't worry about it. It's COVID. That's your imagination, man. If you can't specifically name something about it, we can't help you. A lot of times people have misunderstandings. They miscomprehend, and instead of actually learning the truth about it and becoming wiser, they close it off. They go, no, I don't want to hear the truth. I don't want to hear it. I told you I don't like it. Yeah, but you're not using it right. No, la, 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 la. Look, man, if you just turned it around the other way, la, 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 it's junk. Okay, okay, you go that way. I'm going to go over here. When you're doing this, la, 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 that's like a child. But if you have an actual real issue, some evidence you can point to, in most cases, in my experience, it's your misunderstanding, and we're happy to correct that. In other cases, very rarely, somebody says, hey, there's an issue. We verify, yeah, it is. But so far, nobody's done either of those two things. So you can continue to tell us about your beliefs, but that has very little to do with reality. At least for the rest of it. It only deals with your reality. It doesn't, I can't replicate your imagination. But if you have any actual issues, we'd love to help you with them. But if you don't want to hear the solutions, I don't know what your point is. Like, you just want to justify your reasoning through imagination, and you don't want anybody to help you. So then what's the point? All right, let's see if there's other comments. Jim Jenkins says, why don't you test the drive we just made, our Windows 11 25H2, and do a test install with it and see if it's any different, or, you know, even if it works. That's a great suggestion. We have time. Why not? Let me turn this off, and let's go grab, sure, I've got a mini PC around here we can reset. Let me jump back over here just for a second, and let's turn this off. So bear with me for a second. Oh, by the way, everything I just put in my downloads folder, I'm done with. So I might as well just go ahead and clear the downloads folder out while I'm in here. Control A, delete, and we'll empty that recycle bin. All right, now it's ready for the next video, whatever I need this for, it's good to go. All right, back over to camera one, and let's get this unplugged. Just waiting for my power light. There it goes. Wherever it was, it just turned off. So HDMI and Ethernet and power. Let me set these aside because we're going to need them again in just a moment. And then I need my dongle for the keyboard and mouse. And we'll just set this aside. That right over there. Okay. Let's see, what do we have? I got a Wowie. Oh, let's do this Wowie mini PC. This is one we've already reviewed. Put that over there. Now, I've shown you guys how to reset a Windows operating system and how to back up your drivers without using any third-party software. We've already been through this, but now we'll do the exact same thing I've already shown you how to do. For those of you who missed it, you'll get another opportunity to learn it versus going and watching previous content. And instead of using 24H2 installer, we're going to use our 25H2 installer. We'll see if that changes anything at all. It's not going to change anything. But let's just check it. You think this computer's small? Hold on. Hold on. This little guy right here is a Ryzen 7 6800U, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, Gen 4 NVMe drive. It's just a matter of time when it'll be like, and here's our new mini PC right there. It's coming, you know, it's going to be like this big. You can't plug any USB into it because it's the size of USB and there's no way to. It's getting ridiculous. I refer to this as my mosquito. And the reason I'm so impressed with it is the specs. You'd think this is going to be some budget level, you know, N97, N100 or something. Oh no. No, you can game on this little bad boy. And they've got ports all over it because you don't have any room to put the ports. So you got ports back here. Only this side where the vent is. Every other side has ports or buttons. It's crazy. Unfortunately, Mini Swarm doesn't make this model anymore. I guess it didn't sell very well. Apparently, size matters. Consumers just weren't buying it. It's a great little machine. All right, let's get this plugged in and we'll fire it up. And then, you know, we'll back up our drivers and we'll do a clean install of Windows 11. How's that sound? Sounds like fun to me. Good times. All right, let's get this plugged in. And I'm going to grab my cables here. So, network. Oh, I guess I don't need the power cable anymore. HDMI. Those are blue up front, so I'll plug the keyboard and mouse in the USB 2 port back here. And let's fire it up. Yeah, there's our power light. And then we're going to jump over to this machine here real quick. Find me in Hawaii with $4.99 in Super Chat. Thank you, Ken. It's a pretty decent little boot up time for a sub $200 computer here. Let's take a look if I go full screen. Okay, now I can see it full screen. I know it's full screen for you guys, but for me, I'm looking at a window in a window. Opt out of backup, skip this for now. And when it comes to backing up our drivers, you know, our friend Dennis in the chat room has created a little utility that does this for you. It looks like I've already backed them up, but let's pretend we didn't. Let's just delete everything. Okay. And let's say this is just a computer we bought from Amazon or something, and we don't trust the install, or it's got a lot of things that aren't configured right, or maybe it's a couple versions behind. It'll be faster for us to reinstall the OS than to just go to Windows Update for hours and hours and hours getting 24H2 or whatever else. It could take much, much longer, 3 to 4 times longer than just doing a wipe and a reinstall. Since the machine is presumably new and you haven't done anything to it yet, this also ensures you have a properly configured Windows versus what was sent from the factory in East Asia. Some of them do a good job, some of them don't, but if you do it yourself, you'll know it's done right. So I've got a couple things I want to back up here. And so what I'm going to do is, if I come back to camera 1 for a second, I have my utilities flash drive. I have not tested Dennis's latest version of the driver backup, but all it's doing is it's automating this copy and paste. So if you can't be bothered to copy and paste, or that's too complex, Dennis's utility does the copy and paste for you. That's all it is. So I imagine it's probably going to work fine. This is my Windows 11 installation media. We don't need that yet. First, we want to back up our existing drivers. Now, if you're in a position where a drive has failed, you've lost your drivers, or you didn't think about backing up your drivers, and now you don't know what to do, we would go to WOWI's website or the PC manufacturer's website and click on support. If your PC manufacturer doesn't have a website, congratulations, you bought the cheapest thing that was available, and this is your choice and your consequence. We're going to keep coming back to that. Your choices. You got to think about this stuff. If it's important to you, if you're like, hey, if I buy this Gertoli mini PC, it's a really good price. What if I need drivers? Where do I get them? And then you find out Gertoli doesn't have a website. Good luck with that. On the other hand, if you're like, I don't know anything Carey's talking about, I just buy a computer and use it, then you don't have to worry about crossing that bridge. So be prepared. Know what you're buying before you buy it. All right, so let's plug my utilities flash drive in, and this has a little text file on it that shows me the command for backing up the drivers, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So let me go back full screen over here to this machine. Full screen. Okay, and now I'm going to pull up my flash drive, which is right here, drive D. And there's a little file here I saved called driverbackup.txt. And this explains everything, and we have a whole video on this, okay? So we're not going to go through what all of this says. You can pause the screen and read it if you want to, but nonetheless, all I want is this command right here. It's actually two commands. The first command is going to make a directory. mkdir is short for, it's a command utility to make a directory. Gee, that would explain why it says mkdir. Computer commands are usually pretty obvious once you understand what the command is and what it does. Because if I had to write out the words make directory, I'd be typing forever if I've got to write a lot of programming code. So mkdir, it's going to make a folder called drivers on the C drive. And then the next command it's going to run is this pnp utility / blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going to hit Control C to copy that command. Okay. Okay. Let's make sure we don't already have a C drivers in there. Let me just verify I haven't done this before. Yeah, there's no drivers folder here. So what I do is I go down to the search bar and I type CMD. Now that is computer command code for the command prompt. If I had to type in the word command prompt, if I had to type in everything in English, we'll be here all day. So CMD and run as administrator is a choice right there. And yes, this is what I want to do. And at this blinking cursor, I hit Control V. That's V for paste. But Carey, paste starts with the letter P. Yeah, but before you can paste anything, you have to copy it, right? That makes sense? You can't paste something you didn't copy. You copy first, you paste second. So what button do you press to copy? Control C, C for copy, right. So what button do you press for paste? Control P. Well, that's really inefficient. Look how far away the letter P is on the keyboard from where the letter C is. Wouldn't it be a lot easier if using the same two fingers to press Control C, you could just press Control V to paste? Hey, that does make sense. And that's why it's set that way. Alternately, you can right click on the mouse and choose copy and paste that way if you choose to. That backs up all of our drivers. No third-party utility software is needed to be installed. We don't need any of the spyware. Thank you very much. And right there, we now have a drivers folder. Now, I'm going to take the drivers folder. I'm going to right-click on it. And again, I could use Control C. This is just another way. I'm going to choose to copy that. And I need to move it off of this drive because we're about to erase this drive. So I need to put it somewhere. Where can I put it? Well, do I have room here? This is pretty full. I don't know. Let's see. Let me put it on here. I think we're going to be okay. It's usually about 2 gigs for most computers for the drivers. So now that's on my utilities flash drive. I'm not going to leave it there because I won't know which computer of all the dozens of computers I have here. I could specifically say woe-we in the model, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it there for right now as a holding place. Okay, let's come back over to camera 1. So I'm going to show you what I do next. With our drivers backed up, I don't have to go to the manufacturer's website and download them. I've already got them. Set that aside. I can put it anywhere. It doesn't have to be this flash drive. It could be an external hard drive, could be your network attached storage device. Whatever you want, just get it off of that C drive. If you have a D drive, for example, copy it to your D, whatever. Now, this is the Windows 11 flash drive we just made. It's the only one I have, so it's not like I could be mixing things up, nor would I have any motivation. There's nothing in it for me to trick you. How would I benefit from tricking you? Anyway, let's open this up. Because, you know, customers love when businesses trick them. That's a great way if you want to stay in business. This YouTube channel is an extension of my real life business. We're going to just plug that in right there. And we want to restart the computer, and we want it to start to the flash drive. Now, different computers have different commands to get in the BIOS and do the boot override, or you can do it right in Windows. And that's the way we're going to do it, because it's the same for everyone if you do it through Windows. I'm going to show you that right now. So back over to this computer. I want to verify that the computer does see the flash drive. Right here under this PC. There's our flash drive. The flash drive has two partitions on it. That's drive D and drive E. That's a standard Windows installer. What I need to do is go to the Start button and click on Settings. Once I'm in Settings, I'm going to go to Windows Update. Once in Windows Update, I go to Advanced Options. In Advanced Options, I choose Recovery. Under Recovery, I want Advanced Startup and Restart Now, and Confirm to restart. It's that easy. You don't have to worry about which key, what's the right timing. It's a few clicks, so what? When this machine restarts, it's going to give us a troubleshooting menu or a recovery menu. You might remember this called, they used to call it the safe mode menu or something like that, because safe mode was an option. In much the same way, safe mode is an option here, but we have other options as well, such as use a device. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to boot from a device. This really should say boot from device. Which device do you want to boot from? We want to boot, it should show us the SanDisk driver, but it's going to be a UEFI removable device. If this doesn't work for any reason, the next time we restart, and we repeat this, it will specifically say SanDisk partition 1 or SanDisk partition 2. I'm a little concerned it didn't do that, but let's just see what happens. If this boots into Windows, we didn't do it right. Oh, there's our Windows 11 setup. So the setup looks exactly the same as 24H2. We hit Next, Next. I want to install Windows 11, yes. But what about the Windows 11 that's on it already? We're going to wipe it out. We're going to wipe out everything on this drive before we begin. So you first have to accept the license agreement, and it's going to look for what possible drives are in your system that Windows 11 can be installed on. In our case, we only have a flash drive. That's disk 1 with 2 partitions, and then we have our main drive, which is disk 0, which is 4 partitions. And what we want to do is select each partition on disk 0 and delete that partition. And, oh, that's, okay. Did you see how fast that was? So this has been an improvement. We're going to go to each partition, delete. Wow. Whatever was causing the delays from 24H2, and it only affected 24H2, that's been resolved, because I used to hit delete partition and we'd have to wait a few seconds. And it never did that before 24H2. It was always instantaneous, like what we're seeing now. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so we do see an improvement right there. Now we're just left with disk 0 with unallocated space. We have nuked the entire drive. It is like brand new out of the box. I hit Next, because that's the drive we want to install to. This verifies this is what you're going to do. Yep, and hit Install, and we're off to the races. Everything is exactly the same, except when I delete partitions now, they delete instantly rather than taking several seconds. That whole thing taking several seconds never happened until 24H2. I don't know what caused it. I don't know why it was there, but waiting a few seconds wasn't the end of the world, and I just dealt with it for the last year. Now with 25H2, it's working like it used to, which is instantaneous. Now while this installs, let me go ahead and put camera 1 back up, and we'll put myself in a corner, and we can keep an eye on me and on our install. Let's put myself down here. That's all there is. Once this is done, oh, and the other thing, by the way, we always want to unplug the internet prior to the second boot if possible. Because if we leave this plugged in, it's going to connect online. It's going to want you to create a Microsoft account. It's going to start downloading updates, which may not be a big deal today, but in the future, it could take 3 times longer to get your Windows installed if you leave your Ethernet plugged in. If you're on Wi-Fi, don't worry. It's completely erased your Wi-Fi, and you're going to have to reset all that up. So no problem. All that Wi-Fi data was stored on the drive. When we wiped the drive, we wiped all of that data. So you'll have to reconnect to the Wi-Fi, and that option won't come up until after you're back into Windows. Actually, no, the option will come up while setting up Windows, but don't do it then. Wait until you create your username, log into Windows, let Windows finish its setup, then connect it to the internet, then get your updates, and we can also install our drivers, and we're done. It's that easy. Any questions? Sam Lazar says, why not let Windows 11 do the updates? I just explained why. Do the chipset drivers get backed up? They do. However, if you're using AMD Adrenalin, you don't get the application. So you would still, in the case of AMD, you'd still want to download Adrenalin separately when you're all done so that you get the application back. It's not backing any applications up, just the drivers. Gary's asking a question we addressed earlier, so I'm going to guess you're a little late to the stream, Gary. Well, I don't, just to repeat myself, I can't sit here and name all the changes to 25H2 because I don't honestly care. I don't really use any of them. There are other YouTube content creators that have covered this, so there's no sense in me repeating what's already been done, primarily because I personally don't care. I'm in this for the security, just to be clear. I'm not in it for the features. Although now that I see that the partition deleting is back to being quick again, worth it. I'm happy. If that's the only change, that'd be reason enough for me. But mostly it's just to maintain security from my perspective. Any other features and bells and whistles, I generally don't use them, to be honest. I can't miss what I've never had. But on the other side of it, you know, there may be features that I would use if I knew about them. Ignorance is bliss, I guess, but there's plenty of websites and content creators that have already covered it. All right, what does this say? I can't read it. Let me go full screen again. It looks like you started an upgrade and booted from installation media. Can't really read that. Hold on, I gotta walk up to the screen. Jeez. Getting too old, man, I'll tell you what. Either that or the fonts are getting smaller. What does that say? It looks like you started an upgrade and booted from installation media. Oh, shouldn't have booted from the installation media. If you want to continue with the upgrade, remove the media from your PC and click yes. If you want to perform a clean installation, click no. Well, that suggests it did not boot to the internal drive for some reason. So basically, it's telling us to remove the flash drive and click yes. Now, as it reboots, it should boot from the internal drive. Not quite sure why that happened, but we're done with the drive regardless. After the first reboot, you no longer need the flash drive. I usually just leave it because I'm lazy. But I don't know if that's normal, if that's unique to this PC. Because in the BIOS should be preferring the C drive if it's bootable, and then the USB drive if it's not. If the C drive can't be booted, it moves on to the next bootable drive. That's a configuration in the BIOS, which looks like isn't set properly on this machine, if I had to guess. But regardless, no big deal. Okay, so that wasn't expected, but also, so what? Soren says, what do I think about Windows recall? It depends what side of the fence you're on. If you're somebody that's responsible for the actions of other people, so let's say, for example, you have a restaurant or a coffee shop, and you allow people to use your computers that are there, maybe on a cruise ship, maybe you're on a school system, maybe you're an employer and you have employees working for you, you don't want your employees to be using their computers for personal or illegal things. And if you start getting viruses on your network at your business or at your school, you want to know who did it. Who's responsible? You've got thousands of kids in the school. You may have thousands of employees. How are you going to isolate which employee or employees are responsible for jeopardizing the integrity of the complete office and business? Using something like Windows Recall, you can positively identify the person that needs to go to HR, okay? If you're a home user and you don't want things recorded in that way, then you simply don't turn the feature on. Nobody accidentally has recall running. Let me be very clear. If you said to me, Carey, what do you think of liquor? If I like liquor, I'm going to drink liquor. If I don't like liquor, I'm not going to drink it. Nobody is forcing it on me, and it is not the default drink. When you sit down at a restaurant, they bring you a glass of water. They don't. I don't know what restaurants you go to, but if you sit down to dine, traditionally here in America, they'll bring you a glass of water. They don't bring you a bottle of beer or a bottle of wine, unless that was already prepaid. They ain't doing that for free. Recall is very similar in that way, that it is not turned on unless you turn it on. So for businesses that want to protect their business and protect everybody's livelihoods, they probably want that on. Because not everybody that's your employee is necessarily good for your business. And this will help identify those individuals and get them retrained or removed immediately, because they're putting your business in jeopardy if they continue to go unchecked. If you're a home user and you're worried about your privacy, just don't enable it. So I'm okay with it. You know, it's clearly something that has to be turned on. And if you don't turn it on, you have nothing to worry about. It does not turn itself on, ever. All right, let me go back over to finishing our setup here, because it looks like it's ready for us to continue. Let's get rid of camera one, and we'll go full screen over here. Now you notice I still have not plugged it into the network. So we're going to go through our setup first. So United States, and for our region, of course, it's still United States for us. And by the way, if I was in another country, I would download the ISO image for the country I'm in so that it defaults to my country. You don't have to, but it does. You know, if you're in Ireland, you can download the Irish version, which you know, defaults to different keyboard, different region. And it just makes life a lot easier. Now here I'm going to say I don't have internet. Wants us to reconnect to Wi-Fi. And you'll notice I don't have to do any bypass NRO. I don't have to worry about all that other fear-mongering clickbait nonsense all these other content creators flooded YouTube with, as though it was an urgent emergency with 25H2. 6 months before this was even available to download, they were crying and whining and warning over nothing. This is your proof. I'm going to use the username of user. Don't get sucked in. If you choose to get sucked in, that's your choice. All right, I like to leave my location settings on. All this looks exactly the same as 24H2. Now that should be, I believe, our final step, and it now accommodates our preferences as it prepares the desktop for the first use. Once the desktop appears, then I can plug it back into the network and download drivers. But what if our network card driver isn't loaded? Sometimes with brand new computers, Windows 11 won't see your network card driver. It did see our Wi-Fi driver, but I don't use it. Again, if I sell a computer to a client, I don't want my Wi-Fi network SSID and password stored in the cache of that computer any more than if I bought a Dell or HP from Best Buy. I don't want to see any connected network in the history of that brand new computer because that would be profoundly unprofessional. So that's the reason why I use a network cable when I set up computers here on camera. It's also a security concern to me typing in passwords and such and people watching me. That being said, it's a cleaner, more professional way to do business. If the computer has no, if it's so thin or whatever and it's Wi-Fi only, like a lot of laptops, I have a $15 USB to Ethernet adapter I temporarily use to get everything done. And then when that's done, I unplug the adapter. It leaves nothing behind because, again, that would be unprofessional if it did. All right, now you'll see all these boxes here are all blanked out. As soon as I plug the network cable in, I'm going to grab the network cable right now. Bear with me for just a second. And let's see if the network cable is detected. So watch this bottom right corner right down here. I'm going to plug in. And let's see if, yep, so it did find our network card by default. That flashing means it's obtaining an IP address with our router. They're negotiating. That's done. These boxes now fill in. Like if you're in the European Union, you're not going to see a lot of this stuff. In America, we do, and it's all decided when it connects online. Now, with that, the next thing I can do is restore our drivers. So to restore our drivers, again, if we go back to File Explorer and we go to our utility, I say that on utilities, right? Let me plug the utilities flash drive back in. Give that just a second and it should, yep, there it is. There's our utilities flash drive. Let's open that up. And let's take that drivers folder right here, right click it. Now, I personally, I don't want to keep a copy of this. You probably do. So I'm going to choose cut, which doesn't make a copy. It actually moves it off of the flash drive because I don't want this to stay on my flash drive. You probably do. And we're going to paste it right in our downloads directory because that's where I like to save my stuff. You might like to save your stuff somewhere else. This is where I save my stuff. I'm not showing you how you do it. I'm showing you how I do it. Now, I'm going to right click on the start button. I'm going to go to Device Manager. And we're going to see some items there that need drivers, more than likely. Nothing. Apparently, on this Wowie mini PC, we get all the drivers we need. Well, let's just say we needed some drivers. You would just click on one of these items, any one. Notice we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 icons up here. I want you to watch this area. As soon as I click on any one thing, that expands out, and the second from the end is to add drivers. So if you want to be insane and click on each item individually and spend all day, knock yourself out. If you want to get it all done, home run, hit the ball once, make it a grand slam, hit it out of the park, and you can casually walk to all the bases. Take your time. This is just a more efficient, welcome to 2025 way of doing things. We're going to browse and point it to our downloads directory. I don't have to go any further than that. It'll take it from there. Just look in the downloads directory. If it sees any drivers, it'll start loading them all. That's it. It couldn't be any easier. So if we did have any devices that had exclamation points next to them, we won't after this is done. And if there were any that remained for some reason, you'd go to the manufacturer's website. But more likely than not, this takes care of all of it. And more likely than not, it will want to reboot when it's done. Then we can go to Windows Update and grab all of our updates. And while we're waiting, did we even get 25H2? Let's right click on the Start menu. We'll go to System, and let's see. 25H2. You'll also notice the installer never asked us if we wanted Pro or Home. That's because the product key from this manufacturer is in the BIOS, and that is determined by the BIOS, not by us. But if your product key is, for example, something you purchased for a system you built yourself, or it's from a different manufacturer who didn't embed their product key, no worries. Just make sure you select the version of Windows that you had before, and the product key will automatically be reassigned to you from Microsoft when you go to Windows Update. You never, ever, ever have to enter your product key other than that one time. No Microsoft account is required. It works auto-magically. Microsoft Windows Update Server knows that that product key goes to that serial number of computer. And it can't be reused. That's it. And it stays tied to that computer for the life of that computer. If you want to move that to another computer, buy another license, just like you do for your car. You buy a new car, you buy a new license, or you have to pay money and fill out forms if you want to take your current license plate and move it to another car. If you do that without paying the fees and the paperwork, your car could be impounded by the state. Depending on where you live, they could take your car. It's a serious crime. It's basically using a stolen license plate. Well, the licenses, when we talk about Microsoft Windows, they share a word, don't they? The word license. And that license is specific to the owner and the device. Just like any other license, you can posit your fishing hunting license. Maybe you got a driver's license. Maybe you've got an automobile license. They're tied to the thing for as long as you, like in the case of a license plate on a car, you have to renew that annually. But other licenses are renewed, far more infrequently, and other licenses yet still may be good for life, but there's not a lot of money to be made if you just have somebody buy a license once and never have them renew it. Good luck staying in business. All right, so yeah, that's 25H2. Our drivers should be done. So we hit close, and it wants to restart as expected. After this, we simply will go to Windows Update, and we'll take a look and see if there's any updates to 25H2. I think there'll be one. And then that might need a reboot. We'll reboot and check for updates again. And it should say there's no more updates. Easy peasy. Pixelbyte said, I'm fine, 12 years without a virus. Just to share a story. True story, just happened a couple months ago. Client calls me up and he said he's a silent partner in a business for the last 20 plus years. Now, I didn't know anything about this other business. He's never asked me for any help. It's nowhere nearby. And this business is huge. It's got a lot of satellite offices located in all around the United States. So first of all, I don't know what he's talking about. He says to me, Carey, I have a problem with my other business. What other business? I've known this guy for nearly 20 years. He never mentioned ever another business. Well, somebody clicked on something and there's ransomware. It shut our business down. We can't recover our backups. And my IT team over there doesn't know how to resolve it. And I thought, as a last-ditch effort, I'd call you. Maybe, he's not normally involved with day-to-day operations. He's a silent partner. They're freaking out. It looks like the whole business is going to go under now. It looks like every bit of data they ever had is encrypted. They have no way to unencrypt it, and the ransom is too much money. And it looks like every location around the United States has now got to close, and all those employees have to be let go. Is there anything I can do? So you can sit there and tell me how long it's been without a virus, or how long it's been without a speeding ticket, or how long you've been driving without a car accident. Go right ahead. If that makes you feel good, that has nothing to do with reality. It's sort of like a roulette table. If you're at a roulette table and they spin the wheel, it can be red or it can be black, possibly green, but mostly red or black. Now, if you say to me, listen, this thing's been coming up black 6 times now. There's no way it's coming up black again. I'm definitely betting on red. You're delusional. Every time that wheel spins, every single time, the odds are the same. It doesn't matter what it did before. That doesn't change the randomness. It's always a 50-50 chance, but slightly different because of the green. Let's say there was no green, just for my example. No matter what it did before, has nothing to do with what it's about to do next. So if you want to go through life running that gamble, knock yourself out. I don't choose to live my life that way, nor would I condone somebody saying, I don't worry about it because it hasn't happened. Okay, you want to be reactive instead of proactive? You don't want to change, you want to justify what you're doing because so far it's working for you. Maybe it'll continue to work for you. I don't know. I hope for your sake, you're right. I know, I don't have to wonder, I know for a fact that my client who called me in that emergency for his other business will never, ever make that same phone call to me on the business that I maintain, because we're covered. There's nothing that can happen to that business that we can't recover from instantly. There's never a concern that we have to shut the business down for any of my clients ever. We don't roll those dice. The good news is I was able to help him. We got lucky. His IT team has learned a very valuable lesson, and they have changed the way they do things from now on. So that's called being reactive. They lucky. They got really lucky. That's all I can tell you. I can't live with that kind of stress, man. Better you than me. All right, let's go to the full screen over here. Right click, full screen. And let me go to Windows Update. First, let me change this resolution. This 4K is killing me. Display settings. Let's do, oh, this is shaded out. So when this is shaded out, that's because we're missing a video driver. So that may come in through Windows Update. I don't know why we did not get that on the driver backup, but this is an example, right? This is very unusual, but it can happen. And again, we can go to WoWe and download the video driver, but we may just get it automatically from Microsoft anyway. So let's just do that because we got to do it anyway. We'll hit Windows Update, and I like to turn the auto updates on. Oops, I didn't mean to go to the Insider program. Let's check for updates. And while it's checking, I go to Advanced Options, and I also like to turn these automatic updates on and also to have it alert me when it wants to reboot. And there is a driver update available here, or an optional update. For whatever this is, I don't care. I want it. Nobody's sitting down and coding and testing and updating the website for something that's completely pointless and useless. All of this stuff is coded. Microsoft pays millions of dollars a year to their employees that code, test, and update the databases and websites to release this for free. And you're going to say, no, I don't want that because they didn't charge for it. You don't want it. That's what people think. If Microsoft charged for these updates, a lot more people would appreciate them. But you do you, it's your computer and it's your consequences, and we'll be here when you end up needing a life preserver because I've never fallen off a boat. I'm not going to wear a life preserver, and now we have to go and save you from drowning. Thank you for doing that to us. But we'll help you. And we're going to say, have you learned yet? Some people just have to fall down and hurt themselves before they realize they shouldn't do things. But I respect that. That's fine. Now come bail you out. I'm done with this utilities flash drive. I'm done with my Windows 11 media. Again, the Windows 11 media booting again is likely a BIOS. The media works perfectly. You'll know as we continue to work at future content here, I'll be using my Windows 11 flash drive a lot. So if we see a pattern emerge where that's continually happening, we'll address it. But I do believe it's just a BIOS setting. I mean, I've been doing this nearly 35 years, so I'm not guessing. I mean, it's an educated guess. Let's take a look. Did that finish already? It didn't take very long. Let me go full screen again. So remember, this is 25H2, so there's not a lot of updates here. And we clearly did not get a video update, a video driver. If we look in the device manager and take a look at our display adapter, it's probably some generic driver that's 4K. It used to be when you got the generic driver, it looked like safe mode, but today's generic drivers, oh look, we got some more updates. Today's generic drivers are a lot more advanced. So device manager, and let's just see what it says for our display adapter. It's probably going to say something like Microsoft display adapter. Microsoft basic display adapter. That's why we can't change the resolution, but at least we can read the screen. I'm going to check for updates again. And we'll keep doing this until it says we're caught up. Good, we're up to date. Under advanced, were there anything else coming up here? Nope. So we ain't getting that driver. Why not? Well, likely because AMD has retired this chip, would be my guess. Even though Huawei is selling this brand new, this chip is several years old, and AMD doesn't want to pay their developers to keep updating drivers for hardware they haven't sold in years, just for viewers or end users to go, I'm not going to download that crap because it's free. They devalue it. And AMD says, we don't have the budget to keep doing this. Those people need to buy new CPUs. That's how AMD makes money. So that means that Huawei is responsible for the driver. So we have to go to them to get it. If you buy computers that are using, even brand new computers that are using older technology, you're probably buying them very inexpensively. And as a result, it's going to really rely heavily on the manufacturer for that support. If the manufacturer doesn't have a website, you're going to be figuring it out the hard way. I hope you're a tech, because that's nothing a regular user will be able to resolve easily unless you find somebody knowledgeable online somewhere that's willing to help you, which of course we are. Let's do the easy and obvious regular thing first, which is we'll start up our browser and we will go through these basic questions. And we want to go to Huawei driver. How would I spell that? Huawei drivers. I don't know. Let's see what it comes up with. Huawei.com. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. Who knew? Now, which Huawei do we have here? Let me take a look at the bottom. Somewhere it should tell us. I have a serial number. Ah, here it is. Model is P6. All right, we have a Huawei P6. So let's close that. Thank you very little. P6, this one right here. Please click to download. Click. It takes us to a Google Drive. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Larger manufacturers that make higher profits have their own servers. Manufacturers that are smaller that don't have the budgets, they'll use a service like Google Drive, and they're able to sell their computers cheaper because basically Google's paying for all of this data transmission as part of their service. Even though it's not intended to be used this way, it's not exactly enforced. So this makes it cheaper for you and I. If you expect better than this, buy from a bigger brand name that sells at a higher price to cover those costs. Now, this zip file should contain every driver, including the video driver, and all we need out of it is the video driver. So I'm going to open this up. It's going to ask me if I want to open it with Explorer. And I'll set that to be my default because that's what I prefer. So while that's opening up, I can close this out and hit extract all and extract. This is going to now extract all of the drivers from that one big zip file. And if we want to look at more details at what it's doing, this just takes a moment. Everything is free. No third-party driver utility, no third-party system utilities, no third-party software at all. This is Windows 11. This is 2025. Those third-party utilities, what are they supposed to do? Just close up shop? I guess you don't need us anymore. They don't want to lose their jobs, so they're going to continue their marketing campaigns to tell you, keep downloading and using our utilities that are pointless because you need to have them because they're not pointless, because they want to continue to stay in business, even though the reason their business started years ago was valid. The reason they're staying in business now, not so much, unless you continue to believe their nonsense. Now in here, we should have a video driver. So what do I have? It's nice they put all of our drivers labeled here. So it looks like a wireless driver. Oh, and they've even numbered them. Chipset, AMD graphics. So these two. Let's do the, I don't think we need the drivers. I think we already got these, but I'll right click on install and I'm going to run it as administrator. I don't know if I have to run it as administrator, but it won't hurt. Click yes. And they're going through a custom installer. That's why it looks different. This is what a manufacturer has to do if the chip or the chipset they're using is no longer supported by the manufacturer. Then they're the ones who have to do the work. AMD graphics, right click. I love how they did this. Install is all the same. If you've been installing drivers, usually there's a setup on one, there's an install on others. They're all different. I love how they've kept them all identical. So run that as administrator. And again, it's probably not going to install like you're used to seeing. It's going to open a command box, and it's going to do this in a very old school way. So you're not going to get the graphical user interface and the progress bar, because it takes more time and money and skill to know how to do that. So they're just doing the basics here. Now our video driver went in. If you notice the screen, how it's reset itself, that's usually an indication of a video driver installing. And the little command box dropped away. It's gone. That means we're done. You don't get a box that says finished. And I don't believe we need any of the other drivers. If I right click and look in my device manager now, I bet it doesn't say Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. It probably says AMD Radeon or something. There it is. Now, why that didn't get backed up with the auto driver backup, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I can tell you this is considered to be a sunsetted product. That's why AMD has abandoned it. Now I should be able to change my resolution. Put that to 1920 by 1080, which is what I was trying to do, and it wouldn't let us do it without the full functioning driver. Now it's much more easy for me to read the screen. I personally don't like this wallpaper. I like to just personalize and change this to just a regular Windows 11 theme. With regards, you never saw me enter a product key. This whole thing is live and unscripted. So are we activated? Just type in the word activation and it starts to fill in what it thinks you want right here, activation settings. And it's already been reassigned the product key and activated in the background without telling us. It is Windows 11 Pro, even though we didn't have a choice. Product key was for Pro. The product key is obviously in the BIOS, and or it's in the NVRAM, whatever. And device manager. Once again, everything is kosher. Everything looks good. And finally, what else can I check on this? Oh, you want to have a little stupid fun? I don't usually have stupid fun because people don't pay me for that. But the Microsoft Store, right down here, there is, right up here, search for Livey, Lively Wallpaper. And you'll see it's a free app, 4.5 stars. Hit get. Says it's getting ready. And this should be fine on Windows 10 or Windows 11, regardless of what version you have. Preparing to download. Installing. This is profoundly annoying and stupid, so I know a lot of viewers are going to like it. That's why we watch you, Carey. Calls them as I sees them. We find you annoying, and yeah, that's why we're here. A little self-deprecating humor. All right, we're going to open that up. We're done with the Microsoft Store. And let's just choose this wallpaper. Give that a second. And our wallpaper changes. And as I move the mouse, yeah, how have you ever lived without this? Let's go back and see what other things we can be ridiculous with. Matrix Rain. Let's do the Matrix Rain. All right. So if you can't live without it, there you go. Is it spying on you? I don't know. It's free. Knock yourself out. And there's several other free options. They probably have some paid options. I mean, they got to make money somehow, don't they? There's a music tunnel. I guess that reacts to music. I don't know. Triangles and light. Living room. I don't know what living room is. What does this do? Maybe you can play a video on the TV? You have the most powerful electronic device that contains the complete knowledge of humankind going back to the very earliest days of recorded history, and this is what you do with it? Okay. What is this guy? How about this jellyfish? He doesn't do anything. Sometimes there's some options within these, and you can control what they do. Set it as your wallpaper, preview, edit. I thought this moved with the mouse. See, it shows the mouse moving, but he's not actually working over here. Oh, good. More problems to get emails for help for nonsense. What am I doing to myself over here? Yeah, keep that in the system tray. This one I like. It's just so stupid. I love it. Okay, with enough of that nonsense, let's go back to full screen on camera 1. And if you guys have any questions for me, this will be the time to ask. There's your full live demonstration of upgrading your 24H2 to 25H2 on your own ahead of the line. Or just wait, you'll get it automatically. We've covered creating a new bootable installation media and testing it, demonstrating it, and the lively wallpaper along with the driver backup. And on the rare occasion where, and again, this is extraordinarily rare, where driver backup did not grab that particular driver, we just go to the manufacturer's website and we download it from them. Now we can play the what if game from now until the cows come home, but I know the next question is, what if my manufacturer doesn't have a website? Then you literally find any manufacturer that built with the same CPU you have, because that graphics chip is part of that CPU. So anybody who uses this CPU, whether they sell it today or they sold it in the past, could be ASUS, it could be other big name brand manufacturers, they'll use the same driver. And then once you find it, put it away, because you're probably going to need it again. So you only have to do that once. But if you make sure you bought a machine from a manufacturer that has a website before you agreed to purchase it, you wouldn't find yourself in that position. But if it was worth it to you to save the $7, look, your decisions, your consequences. I just want you to set appropriate expectations. If you think that you're getting more for less money, you aren't. And Unless something's on sale, it's a closeout deal or refurbished, there's always a reason for the lower price, always. And typically that reason is they're pulling back something that the other companies are charging you for. Website support, warranty, any of that. So, well, there may be some exceptions. That is the rule, and that's what you should expect. You should not expect the exceptions, but you can if you want to. The odds on that are 1,000 to 1. Well, I'm going to bet on that one. You know that you're not likely going to win that bet. Yeah, but if I do, 1,000 to 1. Okay, I'll take your money. Scott says, great stream. Thank you, Carey and Marlena. Thank you, Scott. Sam Lazar says, what about AMD or Intel specific software direct from them? You'll probably find that there is no such thing. In other words, when we're talking about software specifically from Intel, you don't have to tell me what it is because I'm not aware of any. If you're talking about software specifically from AMD, it's generally the AMD Adrenalin software, which I would recommend you download. However, if you try to put Adrenalin on this, it'll say you don't have any compatible equipment because AMD has retired that chip, so it won't work. So it depends on the computer, and it's not required regardless. You can continue without the AMD Adrenalin software. I've had customers bring me machines that definitely are improved in performance with AMD Adrenalin, but they never put it on and they don't know any better. And they weren't bringing it to me for performance reasons. They're usually bringing it to me for crashing or things aren't working right. And then while I've got it, I will add the Adrenalin software, but it's voluntary and not required, which is why anything like that that doesn't come in automatically is not required software. Now, if you add your own third-party hardware, you're probably going to have to add the software and the drivers to support that, but that's separate from Windows and that's separate from the PC. Sam Lazar mentions the Intel Driver Assistant. Really don't recommend it anymore. Sometimes what I find is, especially in the technical world, is people want to keep living in the past. They think because they learned something 7 years ago that thing still applies today. And I keep running into this over and over and over again. We don't defragment drives anymore. We're not making separate partitions for data anymore. That's a very old school mentality, and the reasons we had for doing those things no longer exist. If you want to continue to do things the old-fashioned way, by all means, but I would rather stay current, and I make my videos to help you to stay current. So if you're asking me, why am I not covering vintage, obsolete ways? Because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not a vintage channel. I'm here to show you current techniques. As the technology continues to evolve and improve, I'm offering you the option to keep up if you choose to. If you choose not to, and you want to continue to do things the way you were taught back in the day, whatever works for you, I'm okay with it. I won't do that, but you can do that. Yeah, you don't see me install the Windows Update stuff anymore. You haven't seen that in a while. Mostly, like on the Intel NUCs, it doesn't work anymore. Intel put all those support over to ASUS, and ASUS doesn't configure Intel's, it doesn't belong to them. So you have to go to ASUS for that now. The world's changing very quickly. I do my best to keep up, and as I'm keeping up, I want to let you know what I've learned. You can dismiss that. It's fine. Ben Laird said, it's a great stream. I just upgraded 4 machines to 25H2. Perfect. Right on. Oh, PC Manager. Yeah, Andy, I normally do put PC Manager on computers, but I'm finding more and more often the computers are already having it pre-installed. I'm wondering, is PC Manager now defaulted? I do love PC Manager. And I don't use the Intel Driver Assistant anymore. A lot of the older stuff, I'm now using stuff that didn't exist, and it's replaced it. Now, PC Manager is just more of a system maintenance. It's not for drivers. It's just there to, or at least for me anyway, I use it to clean up temp files and clear out the RAM, and I have it set to run automatically. Let's jump back over here, and let's go see if we have it already. Right-click, full screen. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to just come down to the search bar and I'm going to type PC space MAN, and right there you'll see PC Manager shows a magnifying glass. Click on that. And so it's not pre-installed on this machine, but I have seen it pre-installed from manufacturers, but apparently they're using a different installer. Install on Windows is what I want to do. That automatically brings up the Microsoft Store. But if you don't open the Microsoft Store, there's still an executable download if you choose to do it the old-fashioned way. I hit the Get button, click Yes, and it's going to get the file ready. It's going to download the file that just got ready. And then it's going to install the file that it just downloaded, that it just got ready. It's a pretty small application. This is not a rocket ship of a computer run here. And here, when it hits 100%, we can choose to then launch the application, and I'll show you what I do with it. This is free, and it's from Microsoft. This replaces all your system utilities. I click Open. I thought it was Launch, but it's Open. And, well, it's opening. I can just close all this while I'm waiting. Here it comes. Welcome to Microsoft PC Manager. I always uncheck this box, and this will appear randomly whenever you want to go into PC Manager. It may keep asking to set everything back to Microsoft defaults, like your default browser. If I've got Chrome on there, I don't want it to set it back to Edge. So I always uncheck this box. But if there's another box that says always start with Windows, I make sure that that box is checked. I'm going to click Get Started. And it's going to show us how much memory we're using, how many temporary files that's sitting there. And if I want to boost my memory usage, I hit the boost button and it instantly frees up memory. And as far as the disk cleanup, I click on that and it does a quick scan. Now you'll notice there's a lot of boxes that are not checked. If you don't mind blowing out all of your saved logins and stuff like that, then you can override this. But if you leave it at the defaults, just leave it alone and hit proceed, it won't clear out 1.6 because that includes if you were to check all these boxes. So you just hit proceed and it clears out. Well, 1.4 out of the 1.6 ain't bad. We'll go back over to the home, and just one time only I click on Set Smart Boost and turn that on. And that's it. That's all I use it for. Now look, there's a lot of other features that you may choose to use. I don't use them. I'm not recommending them. But they are from Microsoft. They are safe. And decide for yourself. It's sort of like there's a restaurant that has a menu. And that menu has some items of food that I think is disgusting. I'm never going to order that food. That doesn't mean you shouldn't. You want to try something new? Maybe you're an adventure eater. I am not. But that doesn't mean because I don't want it that you shouldn't decide for yourself. All of those options in there are legit from Microsoft. And I don't care for the other utilities. I just care about cleaning out the temp files, clearing out boosting the RAM. And as long as the Set Smart Boost is on, it should just self-maintain at that point. So thank you for the reminder on that. Crazy Vera joins us in the chat and says hello. Welcome in. All right, we're just about at we're about 20 minutes away from a 3-hour live broadcast. But hey, it's Sunday. Not a lot going on today. Maybe some football. If there's any other questions that you have for me, or concerns, or things that you'd like my take on, this will be the time to ask. I invite everybody, be prepared to get an answer that is not going to pander to you, but I will be honest. And what value that has to you is up to you. But I'm always going to be honest with you. Gary Tatum says, I'd say you get the driver straight from AMD. You'd think so, but AMD says we don't provide the driver anymore because we don't support the product anymore. In past videos, we've gone through this exact issue, and the driver AMD provides does not work on this machine. And if you ask AMD why, they go, we haven't supported that in years. You're downloading an old driver. So if you need an advanced driver, updated driver rather, you need to go to the manufacturer. So what should be is based on your understanding of what motivates companies to pay for the drivers to be developed and who's footing that bill. And a company just cannot keep providing drivers for old equipment unless they want to go out of business when their expenses are millions of dollars to sell you a product that's a few dollars. You need to continue to sell the products in bulk. When the products no longer sell and your cost of support exceeds the amount of money you're making, that product is done or your company is done. Now, if a third-party manufacturer decides that's okay, we'll buy all those extra parts that you don't want anymore, we'll buy them really cheap, we'll use them, and AMD says you're on your own for drivers. Don't come to us. And for that reason, we're going to discount the price. Then this manufacturer can make PCs at a hell of a bargain. But because you made that choice, because you wanted to save the money, there was a cost to that. And it was your choice and your consequence. So be sure that you're buying a supported product, if that matters to you, from AMD. If it's not, then make sure the support coming from the manufacturer exists. With Huawei, it does exist, as we just demonstrated, it's no problem. But you don't want to find that out 6 months after you purchased it and you're well beyond your return period and you didn't know any better. It's still your fault. It's still your accountability. It's your responsibility. And nobody's taking advantage of you. They were very open and honest about what they were selling. If you didn't understand it, well, now you do. Like, I have very little sympathy for that. What I don't like is how much of finger pointing and blaming people do just because they made bad decisions. If you wouldn't have made that decision, you wouldn't be so upset at this party over here. They didn't hold a gun to your head. They didn't force you to buy anything. They didn't trick you. You just didn't do your research. Now you know. So let's stop being victims of our own decisions and let's accept responsibility and let's move on, right? I mean, it's very bizarre to talk to other adults about this because that was ingrained in me when I was young. And I guess maybe things are a little different today. But regardless of how you personally feel about it, it doesn't change reality. Whether or not you think your decision is somebody else's fault doesn't change it. Hey, there's Frankie B hanging out with us, joining us. Welcome in, Frankie. Good to see you, my friend. Dustin Fuller says, great stream as always. Thanks, Dustin. Larson said, if you sign out of your Microsoft account, you will have to sign in once a month to get updates. Completely false. I'm also 10 feet tall and 4,000 pounds. Nothing about what that person said is true. That is completely false information. But, you know, it's the internet. Now, rather than asking a question, will I have to log in once a month to get updates? I would have politely said no. If you said, I read somewhere you had to log in, I'd say, I read somewhere I'm 10 feet tall. But I'm not. People should be asking more questions. Especially when they're spouting off with confidence, right? They sound like they know what they're talking about. And, you know, if you don't know Latin and somebody speaks a gibberish that sounds like Latin to you, you might believe they're speaking Latin because they're very confident and it sounds right, but it isn't. And they're like, oh, just trying to help. Well, do me a favor, stop trying to help. If I'm drowning, you putting your foot on my head isn't helping. In fact, you're making it worse. please stop this nonsense. Please. Only you can prevent nonsense. And if you insist on nonsense, I'm going to push back. I'm going to call it out because I'm honest. I'm going to tell you, it's nonsense. I've been in this business almost 35 years. You want to believe some rando in the chat room you've never seen before over me? Go right ahead. See what happens. See how that works out for you. Oystein joining us from Norway. Thank you for the info, Carey. Right on. Good to see you, Oystein. Someone might say, well, this is why we don't ask questions. Why? Because you're going to hear the truth and it's not what you believe? Great. That's the most bizarre excuse I've ever heard. I don't want to hear the truth. I want you to agree with what I say. No, that's not how truth works. When you agree to the truth, then we'll agree. When we can verify facts through a third-party, independent, unbiased, like Microsoft themselves, that would be a good start. But just because you choose to believe something doesn't make me 10 feet tall. It doesn't put $1 million in my account. And people just won't stop. They just keep harping on about nonsense. So you, as somebody on the internet, you need to filter through all of this. It's your responsibility to filter through the nonsense. And if you don't verify what you're hearing and reading about, then you're just going to be the next problem, right? You're going to be spouting out incorrect, false information, thinking what you know is true, but not being bothered to verify it is the problem. So if you don't want to verify it, then don't keep repeating it until you do. I wish that was a law. I don't know how we'd enforce it. But in the meantime, it's up to each one of us to determine the nonsense, the spam, the bots, the scammers. People get tricked all the time. And sometimes the intent is to help, but it ends up actually hurting people. So be very cautious of that unless you want to hurt people. And if you do, you're not welcome here because we don't do that here. Zeke wants to know who makes the little computer I was showing. That's Minisform. Minisform made a couple of these little machines. My little mosquito, I call it. I haven't turned it on in a while. They don't make this. You can't buy them. Maybe on eBay. But Ace Magic does make a budget computer of a similar size. And they still sell this today. But it's very much a budget machine. It's not for, it's not like this is kind of a mid-range PC. You can do gaming on this. This one, though, this is under $200. And it's just a little, you know, it's got 3 HDMI ports, 2 Ethernet ports with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. This is the Ace Magic, the T8, I think they call it. And you can find these on Amazon all day, but they're nothing special. They're basic machines. Entry-level budget, right? And almost all of them that are this size, there's a few other manufacturers, are pretty much budget machines. This one, on the other hand, they made 2 models. They have a Ryzen 7 6800, and I think the last was a Ryzen 7 75. I can't remember. It was one generation newer, and then they stopped making them because people weren't buying them. But maybe on eBay you can find it. But what's so impressive about it, and you have to understand, when I did the review on this a few years back, I thought it was going to be a budget machine. I'm like, all right, well, it's cute. Oh, it's deceivingly powerful. In this case, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And this little dog here has got a lot of bite, let me tell you. It's powered through USB, like a cell phone charger. This is probably missing a ton of updates anyway. We can update it. Let me move some stuff out of my way here. As a result, we have a pretty short power cable. But let me see if I can figure out how I can plug this in. Let's turn this one off. I think we're done with it. Back over to HDMI 3, which I think the screen went to sleep on me. There it goes. And let's shut this off. I'll put the final touches on it, like changing the power mode and such. The regular stuff, VLC, that I do. I'll do that later tonight off camera. In the meantime, let me go full screen over here. There, now I can see it. And then we'll click on the start button and we'll choose power and shut down. Okay, now once that turns off, we come back over here to camera 1. I think it's already off. There is no Ethernet port. There's no room to put an Ethernet port. So if I want to plug a network, this is all Wi-Fi only. But if I want to plug a network cord into it, I simply get one of these $15 adapters from Amazon. It just plugs into a USB port. And now I can plug an Ethernet cord into it. Again, it's a unique requirement I have because I'm live broadcasting. There's no reason to not use it on Wi-Fi. HDMI, we have one HDMI, one HDMI there. It looks like there's a micro SD card reader, a Kensington lock, and 2 USB Type-Cs. I don't know if these both support display out, but you can usually buy another one of these little adapter cables to go from Type-C to HDMI or DisplayPort to add another monitor. I'm not sure if either one or both do that, but we'd have to look up the specs on this. I can't remember. And then I need my keyboard and my mouse, right? So that's just another, we've got multiple USB ports here, 2 Type A's, a Type-C, a Type-C, HDMI. There's a reset for the BIOS. There's a Kensington lock that you can put a steel bicycle lock on this so no one steals it. And headphone jack right there for speakers or headset. So I'll just plug this in right here. And you could use a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and then you wouldn't even need a dongle. We'll turn that on. Did I plug it in? No, I have to plug it in first before I turn it on. Jeez. How long have I been doing this? All right, let's get that power adapter unplugged. We'll plug in this one. Oh my goodness. I don't quite have enough power cable. Maybe I can just move the whole surge protector. Move the whole thing so I can trip over that later. It's a very short cable. Let's turn that on. There, we get a little green light. This is confusing me. I'm going to put this away. And let's go over to our HDMI 3, and hopefully we're going to get a signal here in just a moment. This hasn't been on in a long time, so that first boot up might take a little bit longer. It's likely having to retrain the RAM again, so we'll just give that a moment. Now, why did it go into the BIOS? That's interesting. So let's just jump over to save and exit. Try again. There we go. This little guy is impressive. And I was also afraid it was going to be loud given how tiny the fan is, but it's actually pretty darn quiet. Trying to move some cables out of my way so I have some space to work here. Okay, that's better. Opt out of backup. Skip for now. And I'm sure we're going to be missing a lot of updates here. Start, settings, Windows Update. Check for updates. And look at the specs on this little bugger. Oh, it already wants to restart. So look, we've got an AMD Ryzen 7 6800, 16 gigs of RAM, Windows 24 H2, it's Windows 11 Pro, 512 gigs of storage. Let's go ahead and let it reboot. Update and restart. And while that's happening, let's come back over to camera 1. And what I'll do is I'll put myself in the corner again, and we can kind of keep an eye on me and on it. You never know what I'm doing back here when the camera's not on. You don't want to know. Pretty boring. Now the model of this, if you're wondering, like if you wanted to search eBay to see if somebody was selling one, this is called a Get Your Glasses On, Carey. EM680. It's a Minis Forum EM680. Think of it as the electric mosquito. I just made that up, but I like it, so that's what I'm going to call it. The Minis Forum Electric Mosquito 680. Okay, so back to the desktop. Let's go back to Windows Update again. I expect there's a lot of missing updates here. Hey, we can do the upgrade to 25H2 while we're here. Oh, yeah, it's missing quite a bit. And those could actually take a while. So again, we'll wait. If there's more conversation to be had in the chat, let's have it. Otherwise, we don't need to wait. You already know what the outcome's going to be, right? I'm going to restart the computer when the updates are done. I'm going to download that 25H2 installer. It's going to restart again. I'm going to check for updates again. Actually, this little guy's going pretty quick. But you can already predict exactly what's going to happen now. And it's exactly what's going to happen. Like the odds of it not doing exactly that are possible, but they're not in your favor. This is all pretty much formality. You know exactly what's going to happen. And dead silent, by the way. I can hear the fan turning, but it's very quiet. Let me see if I missed anything earlier. Sam Lazar wants to know, with your Windows 11 install USB, would you also load drivers into it from other manufacturers? No. No. When I was working for corporate America and we had an office of hundreds, if not thousands, of the exact same and model of computer, then yes, I would. But given no two computers I work on are the same, it would be in my worst interest to force drivers onto them they don't need. Again, I would find that to be profoundly unprofessional behavior and lazy. Instead, each machine gets treated the same way each customer gets treated, with the unique solution required for each unique computer and each unique customer. We customize the service we do. We don't force everybody to be on exactly the same thing. I don't want to load drivers onto something that don't need to be there, because there could be consequences with a future update that even though the drivers aren't being used, they're still sitting, taking up space. And I wouldn't do that. I find that to be very disrespectful
to a customer's equipment to utilize the customer's space for makes my job easier. Yeah, like they care about that. They're paying me to do a job. I'm not doing it for free. And this is just my philosophy. I'm not telling you how you should do things. I will never do it that way unless, as I mentioned, if I have a client that has a lot of the same computer. And by the way, I haven't had a client that's had a lot of the same computer in about 20 years. But if I were to take on a new client, let's say this week, and that client has a fleet of Dell whatevers, and they're all the same, I might make a custom installer just for that client, but I wouldn't use it for anybody else. But again, that hasn't happened in 20 years. We're building Intels, we're building AMDs, we're building, well, we're not building, but we have Snapdragon. You know, we've got Qualcomm. We've got different layers of performance that require different drivers, especially if we're doing, say, a discrete graphics card. Those drivers are updated every 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not going to bust my butt constantly updating an installer every single time a driver update changes, because that would take me more time than to just install the driver when and as needed, uniquely for that specific machine. So that's why I don't do that. But if it was the same thing that was constantly repetitive over and over, the same machine, the same drivers, again, in a corporate world, that would be yes. But as a field service technician, where I very rarely see the same equipment twice, that would actually work against me because it would take me longer to do that. So for those reasons, if you're wondering why, that's the logic behind it. So for me, it's not ideal. For you, depending on your scenario and your personal preferences, you know, do what's best for you. Mas Khan says, we watch you because of your honesty. Well, I would hope so, but some people, they like an echo chamber today. They want to hear what they want to hear, and if you won't tell them what they want to hear, they'll go somewhere else. Or they might argue with you to defend their ignorance, which, listen, if I've made a mistake, and I do make mistakes, and someone wants to politely point that out and correct me, please and thank you. But if you're just spouting nonsense, truly because that's what you believe, because you read it or saw it somewhere, that doesn't make it reality. And more, I'm seeing this all throughout interactions with people that you can't win an argument with them because they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in hearing what they want you to say, and that's a form of manipulation, control, and bullying, and I won't be a part of it. And so this leads to sometimes arguments. Sometimes these arguments can get to the point where they're shouting and maybe even violence, but I'll walk away. Once I realize I'm working or talking to somebody, you know, even if it's a casual conversation with someone in a supermarket and they start showing those red flags, it's, oh, you know what, I have something, I'm going to be late. It's really nice meeting you. And I will never see that person in the world ever again. If there's somebody that wants to preach to me about their religion, just like they want to preach about their politics or they want to preach about their beliefs, I'm not going to your church. So you save that for other members of your congregation. I'm not your congregation. Don't preach to me. It's not going to go over well. But the return of that is I won't preach to you either. We either agree to what reality is or we disagree. And if we disagree about reality, I don't have any further need to discuss anything with you. There's no point. Trying to be reasonable with an unreasonable person is an unreasonable thing to attempt. So the way you win that game is you don't play that game. Very simple. Just walk away. You can walk away politely. You can say, well, I agree to disagree. Or just simply nod your head. Okay, that's all you have to do. Doesn't matter. Okay. Well, I have to go now. Okay, bye-bye. It's very polite, non-confrontational, and move away as far as possible from that person. You'll both be happier. Very easy. I was reading something the other day about a business. Where was it? And the business said, if while you're on the clock, while we're paying you to work here, you are talking about politics or religion, you're out of the door. We don't want you here. You're paid to work. Get to work. You want to do that stuff, you do that on your time. When you're on the clock, I can't remember which employer this was. Employees were saying it's a freedom of speech thing. Well, no, not when you're on the clock. We're paying you. We're not paying you to listen to you. We're paying you to listen to us. So get to work. And if you can't do that, there's the door. I'm like, that should be corporate policy everywhere as far as I'm concerned. That has no place in the workplace, unless your workplace is directly involved in that. But it's interfering with productivity. That's the problem. It's not about censoring people. It's about getting the job done that we hired you to do. Makes common sense to me. You want to do that after hours, knock yourself out. Punch out, do whatever you want. Once you're clocked out, it's your time. Clocked in, you're on our time. Or start your own business. You can do that too. So tomorrow, every Monday, we do a members-only broadcast as a thank you to our members that help support us so we can continue to be this independent and not be controlled or beholden to any soulless, faceless corporations that dictate what we're allowed to say or tell us what we're not allowed to say, or they tell us what we have to show you. You're going to review this product. No, I'm not. Then we have to be independent. If we're independent, that means some companies won't work with us. And that's okay, because we can use our funds, and we can go buy a product, and we can review it whether they like it or not. And we have this freedom because of the members and the people who contribute to this channel. Because believe me, there's not a lot of sponsors that want to pay us money to promote their product and be honest about their product. Usually these are two different things. You're either promoting it or you're being honest about it. But every once in a while, there are companies that shine through that are both products I would use and often do use in the real world in my real life business, who also work with us, but they don't pay us, like Minis Forum. I genuinely like this. And every Minis Forum machine, for the most part, I can't recall one I didn't like. I don't necessarily have a use for this little guy, but I think it's amazing. And Minis Forum will say, we'll send you the computer for free. We're not going to pay you, but we're also not going to control whatever you say. We believe in our product so much that we don't think you're going to find anything wrong with it. But go ahead and give it your best shot. These are the companies I want to be sponsors. But they're not the ones offering, right? The ones offering are generally products that are not 100% bad, but I can't get, like a VPN service. I'm not going to recommend you guys waste your money on that crap. It's nonsense. If you have a business and your job is to protect your client's data, you should have a VPN. But if the only person's data you're worried about is your own, you don't need that. And in fact, what you think it does is probably not what it does. That's the other thing. People have a misunderstanding of what a VPN is. But what it will do is it will slow your connection down. I promise you that. And some websites may not load when they notice you're on a VPN, and you're going to, why can't this website load? You have a VPN? Yes. How did you know? Because the website's not loading. Turn the damn VPN off. Oh, it works now. Thanks. Yeah. How much other money do you want to spend to create some more problems? Don't be a jerk. Anyway, so you don't see us promote VPNs ever. We never have. There's no reason to. But if you were a client of mine and you were into financial, regulatory concerns in a financial business, a tax business, accounting, if you were a dentist or a chiropractor or HIPAA laws applied, then government rules require you to have these things like BitLocker. We don't have a choice. But if you have a choice, why would you choose that? There's a lot of stuff for corporate America, like servers, that's there to solve issues unique to corporate America. So when somebody has a server in their home, it's like owning a school bus. You can go buy a school bus, go knock yourself out. You can go buy an articulating, Caterpillar heavy equipment machinery. You could own a forklift. Go buy one. Nobody's stopping you. I don't know where you've got to put it and what you're moving around in your house, but it's not designed for people at home to buy forklifts. It's not illegal, it's just stupid. Now, it's not illegal to be stupid. Somebody may be a forklift enthusiast. Okay, knock yourself out. Nobody's stopping you. But that does not represent a big enough audience for which to make content for forklift enthusiasts. I would have an audience of about 12. But if you had a loading dock and you said, Carey, how can we move these pallets off of the truck onto our loading dock, even though that's not my job, I could very easily say, you should buy a forklift or rent one. But if you live in condos and you're like, I got this problem, there's nowhere for me to park my forklift. Why would you have a forklift at a condo? Why would you have a server in your house? Why would you have a VPN when you're not a corporation? Why would you have BitLocker on? You want to pretend like, oh, look at me, I'm a big corporation, I'm doing all the things the big boys do. I mean, it's not illegal, but I can't make heads or tails on why you'd make yourself so miserable. Now, I have run into instances where people say, I'm doing this to learn it because I want to apply for a job in server administration, and it's best that I get to know the usage of the server. Maybe, maybe. The problem is you don't know necessarily what servers that job has, so how do you know what to prepare for unless you've already worked there? And what if they don't hire you? Then you're just applying at one place, or are you applying at several places? Because just because you know how to administer the server at your house has nothing to do with the policies and procedures and equipment at your future employer. So that's why it's like, maybe. I got to run Active Directory at home. Okay. Put that next to the school bus and the forklift outside, I guess. It's all starting to make sense. So there's a certain part of my job where I'm recognizing clients that are getting in their own way. And I cannot have a client like that. It'll put me out of business. So I'm not telling clients what they can or cannot do. I'm simply saying I don't do that. You'll have to go to somebody else. That's all. And we'll part ways, and again, we'll both be happier. Let's see. Almost done setting up your computer. Continue. Not now. Skip. Back. Skip. All right. Another round of updates. Those updates went in quick, didn't they? I told you this little guy's no joke. Let's hit retry. And let's see what remains. Now, granted, there's a lot faster computers out, but not this small. This is crazy. Such a sad thing that people didn't buy them and they just stopped making them because, you guys, you're voting with your money. So if you don't buy something and it's not selling, they'll quit making it. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Alan with a Y joining us right here at the tail end of the show. Mara says, we were asked to review an automatic cat litter bowl. So how are we going to review that? Who's going to poop in the box to test it? Don't answer that question. It's rhetorical. Okay, so this should be 24H2. Let me come back over here real quick. Source projector. There we go. Okay, so now I can see it the way you guys at home get to see it. All right, let's do Microsoft Edge. Oh boy, close that. I know I can close the tabs, but I just rather do it that way. All right, let's do it's Paul Thurrott. 25H2, that should bring me to his article. Thurrott.com. I want x64, not the ISO. I want the eKB. And that's downloaded up here. eKB is the enablement package, in case you're wondering what that stands for, the enablement knowledge base. All right, so let's close that. No, let me go here first, back to download. There it is. Now let me bring that up. Now I can close this. And we are 24H2, right? Before I begin, let me just verify. System, scroll down, 24H2, close, run that. There we go. All done, restart. Y'all still with me? Am I going too quick for you? Luke Chaffee joins us, says, sorry I'm late. Well, now we can start. We've been waiting. We've been waiting to start for you. Really? No. But thanks for joining us. Glad you could make it. Martin Hogg wants to know, why would an automatic cat even need a litter box? Because after all, she did say, review an automatic cat litter box.
It's kind of a computer, right?
Is that an automatic cat?
It's an automatic cat.
Is that like a hot water heater?
Kind of.
Who needs to heat water that's already hot?
Exactly.
All right, let me come back over here real quick. What are you doing?
I do.
Yeah.
Are you copy?
Are you wandering aimlessly around the house or what?
I'm doing what I usually do, taking care
So
of
wandering
stuff.
aimlessly? Hold on, 25H2. Yep, 25H2. And then we'll check for some more updates. I'm feeling a bit ornery. I'm just giving you a hard time. Who are you going to tell?
Because of your mood, I'm going to tell them that we want the cat litter box, and you're going to do it. Get it? You're going to do it.
Careful, I might like it. Your job always going to be to empty it when I'm done. Be careful.
I don't have to.
You know, is it automatically going to replace the litter? Is it automatically going to take the cleanup and put it out to the trash?
I did not do my research to figure that out.
Well, your decisions, your consequences. Bring it on. But be careful. I might just like it.
Yeah, oh, okay. I don't really have a good response to that.
And that's what you get for playing with fire.
Yeah.
You're going to get burned. So we do have a couple more updates that are waiting for us, and I'll just grab them. Why not? This will end up going back in a box and sitting around for a while. So the next time I check it for updates, probably a bunch of updates waiting again. That's a shame, though. It's a good machine. I'd like to use it. I just don't know what I'd use it for. A little machine like that would be, I mean, way overkill for a home theater PC, but it would be almost indetectable. It's so tiny. Okay, installing that last, the cumulative update on the .NET framework. These other updates, I guess, were just antivirus updates, so that's good. I'm always happy to see antivirus definitions updated. Gary Bickle said he just did his other PC laptop to 25H2. Yeah, all good. So now you don't have to worry about, in the coming days ahead, when the press release comes out, hey, 25H2 was out. You're already ahead of the curve there, leading rather than following. Okay, we'll restart that. Remember what I said before, you could predict exactly what's going to happen. We didn't have to film this. It's all going to go exactly like you expect it to. See, that's the problem being a computer tech, is you're either bored, at least for myself, I am either bored because I'm seeing the same problems I've seen before. I know exactly what to do. It's click, 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 and this happens, and of course that happens. And every once in a while, it surprises me and it doesn't do what I'm expecting. And thank goodness, because if I didn't get that frustration, then all I would be is bored and I probably wouldn't want to do this anymore. That frustration, the thing that kind of gets me worked up at the end of the day, that's what keeps me interested. If I had nothing but frustration day after day, I wouldn't want to do this anymore. If I had nothing but boredom and the same old thing day after day, I wouldn't want to do this anymore. There's a nice balance in there between, I've seen this, click, 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 does what it does. People go, wow, you're so smart. Okay, whatever. I've just done it a million times, you know. Like anybody, there's nothing special about it. You just keep repeating the same things, you're going to get better. You put 10,000 hours into something, they say you're an expert at it. Well, I've got a lot more than 10,000 hours into this. But it doesn't mean you know everything. And thank goodness, because after 10,000 hours, if you're just still constantly flummoxed and frustrated by problems, you're probably in the wrong line of work. At the same time, when those problems do occur, and it's frustrating, you know, I may not be in the mood for it, but at the end of the day, that's what keeps me coming back for more, is I never know what the next day holds. What new surprises will I get? Today, we had a couple surprises with that other machine wanting to boot to the Windows installer the second time. Why did that happen? I don't know, but it's not a big enough deal for me to care about. It's probably in the BIOS. Boring. We ran into the video driver not being backed up in the driver's file. Well, I wasn't expecting that, but also boring. The first time it happened, it was frustrating. But every subsequent time, it's boring. So somewhere in there, hopefully it's more boring and, you know, I know what I'm doing than it is frustration and I don't know what I'm doing. But there's always still learning. There's always still new experiences. And the harder you fight to get your answer, the longer that answer will stick with you. You'll remember it. It's not like you're studying the night before for a test tomorrow, and then the day after you can't remember anything that you studied for because you just learned it the night before. You're never using it or putting that knowledge into, you know, in the case of like being in school and taking a test, you're not using that knowledge and therefore it fades out and you're jamming it in with other things you're genuinely interested in, like what's on sale at the pizza delivery place tonight because I want to get a pizza. Something like that, you know. And that's what takes up space in your brain. At least it did for me. And you're in a dorm room and you're waiting to, you know you need to study. I know I need to study. I got a test on Tuesday, and I wait until Monday night, 3 o'clock in the morning. I have to be up at 7 to be at class by 8. And all that stuff is still fresh on my mind, and I can answer most of those questions from memory. And then go back to the dorm and go to sleep, and then wake up and go, I'm munchy, let's get a pizza, what's on sale? And all that information from the test, gone. Just gone. All right. I think we're good to go here. Let me just double check one last thing. Full screen here. Yeah, our crystal disk mark results. This little guy scoots along pretty good. It's not too shabby. And let's shut her down.
Here. Clicky. Oh, you know what? Is there an update over here? Let's see. Speaking of AMD Adrenalin. Let's see what that says. It takes a minute for that to start. We have 2.5.3.1. The latest is 2.5. Oh, let's grab that. 0.9.1. Yes, please. Install and update all. So we're going to get new Adrenalin and new chipset drivers. These are optional. You can see nothing's wrong with this computer. This could enhance our performance, our security, or possibly compatibility with games in particular to run smoother. So if that's important to you, it's a free driver update, but you have to, oftentimes you have to go and get that yourself. It depends on the configuration of, like in this case, of the Adrenalin software. Is it checking automatically and will it download automatically? I don't know. Clearly it didn't. So that's why I still will manually check regardless of what the computer says it's doing. You still need to babysit, you need to audit, you need to verify. Don't trust computers. Do not trust them. Not for any length of time. There's always got to be regular checkups, because when they go sideways and you find out about it after the damage is done, then you'll say, I understand now what Carey was talking about. It's better to audit it and just say, okay, yeah, verify everything's doing what it's supposed to. And you do that, for me, it's about every 6 weeks on automated things, automated backups and things, about every 6 weeks, or just whenever I think about it. You know what? I'm just curious. Did the last backup run okay? It did? Cool. But if the last backup didn't run okay, I want to know about that yesterday so I can get it fixed before I become reactive. I want to be proactive. Then I'll be less likely to be reactive. Being proactive means it hasn't caused a problem yet, but it's a problem for me. But I'm not under any pressure to fix it because no one knows it's a problem except me. So I can fix it at my convenience. I don't have to stop everything I'm doing and prioritize that unless I think for myself I want to. But I don't do it because I have to. I don't like stress. I have enough of it naturally. I don't need to create any more. I'm good there. Putting the drivers in now, and then that's it. Yeah, it'll go back in the box and back on the shelf. And this one, like I said, I'll put the VLC on it and stuff that was on there and put it back to fully updated. I might just take a look in the BIOS and verify the boot order while I'm in there. Just kind of bugs me. Shout out and a thank you to Jose Lopez, who submitted a $1 super chat about 3 hours ago. Thank you to Rakshit Patel with a $4.99 super chat. Sorry, Rakshit, I just saw this now. That was about 3 hours ago. Find me in Hawaii with $4.99 about 2 hours ago. Thank you, Ken. I remember shouting that one out. And a shout out and a thank you to those Amazon gift cards from our friends Mark Gaines and Charlie Purdy. Thank you to Lucrenia for the PayPal contribution. Of course, our friend Buster. Where would we be without Buster? So thank you to those folks as well. I feel like there was a fourth one. Oh yes, Bebo. Thank you to Bebo for your Amazon gift card as well. And I did say Charlie and Mark Gaines, right?
We should have an update coming up soon with these free utilities. Our friend Dennis in the chat room has written to automate the driver backup process, so you can just run a file to do it for you. Even though you just have to copy a command, this does it for you, so you don't have to worry about copying it wrong. And he also wrote another one to adjust the network settings if you want to share folders and files on your network without requiring passwords, which is what I prefer to do because my network is locked down. Nobody from outside can get into this network. Now, if I wanted remote access in, then I would probably want to password protect everything. But the only way we get remote access in right now, we would have to set up like Tailscale, which again continues to make this a lockdown local area network. But if I wanted to open access to the NAS or something like that, I would not want to turn off password sharing. But because I don't set myself up that way, nor do I send up any of my clients that way, the added security in Microsoft Windows that they have enhanced to protect you from online hackers is there for your protection, because most people don't know any better. So for me, that's a standard practice to turn those particular security features off, but I'm also knowledgeable and verify that my local area network is in fact completely locked down. If I can't verify it's locked down, then I would not do that, nor would I recommend you do that. And I think this is done. Wants to restart. Okay. And with that, oops, wrong button. Let's go over here and try that again. There we go. It's important I get that swoosh of the cape. With that, that's going to wrap it up for today's long broadcast, but a fun one, 3.5 hours. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I appreciate interacting with each and every one of you. So thank you for being a part of the show. Luke says, when does Windows release? Whenever Microsoft says. As far as I know, Microsoft has not made an announcement, and that's internal discussions for Microsoft employees only. When the public release date is announced, I'm sure you won't be able to avoid that. But it should be, if I had to guess, and I have to guess, within any time from tomorrow to 10 days from now would be my best guess. And as far as I know, that is secret corporate info for those who need to know. Until Microsoft decides otherwise, you can just do what the rest of us do and guess. This is standard policy. Very few companies will ever come out and specify when the software is going to be released. If it's a movie, they can tell you the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the theaters is going to be out on this day, and the people that work on that have to be done with it. You don't have a choice. You got to get the special effects done, you got to get the edits all done, you got to get the audio polished up, you got to get the video polished up, you got to get the CGI done, you need to get the credits and the titles and the music. All has to be done because that movie has to be in theaters on that day. But when it comes to software, sometimes game companies will announce a game is going to be released, even if it's not ready, because they need to bring money in order to pay for the development of the game. So even if the game doesn't work and they said it's going to be out on this day, a lot of times it goes out broken. But at least they're collecting revenue and they can continue to pay the employees. But with Microsoft updates, it doesn't work like that. They're not making any money from it. So they're going to keep that pretty well, playing their cards close to their chest. They don't want competitors, competing against those dates. And then when it's released, they know for a fact, we're setting this date, they'll tell you. But these are marketing concerns regarding being in a competitive marketplace. So different industries will behave regarding dates differently. But look at GTA 6, that was supposed to be out this year, and now it's not going to be out till next year. That's very unusual because that means they're going another year without any revenue from that game. And how much revenue do you think it costs all those employees for each annual salary? You're going to pay every employee a whole year's salary before what they're working on can be sold to help pay back the money you spent. What a mess. Andy says, thank you for your knowledge, and Miss Marlena for your wisdom. Well said. Thank you. Thank you for being a member and being such a kind and supportive and amazing person that makes this community what it is. We need more people like Andy. Well, more people like all of you, quite honestly. We have plenty of room to grow here in the community, and I'd love to see more like-minded individuals gather here in our live chat. I'd also like to see more people interact with live content creators rather than just sitting passively like you're watching. We called it the boob tube back in the day. You just turn your brain off and you just stare at a screen. We don't want you to do that. We want you to engage not only with us, but with each other. Friendships can be formed, and maybe love can be found. All right. Take it easy. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We're enjoying the cooler weather right now in Phoenix. Big rainstorms yesterday. As a result, our weather's a little cooler than normal. It does look like we have 100-degree days returning, but just so glad when the 90s and the 80s are back to our normal daily temperature. There's so much I want to get done, and I don't want to go out in 100+ degree weather and do that. It's miserable. So that's my excuse for procrastinating. It's too hot. All right, thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, your contributions. Thanks to all the members. We're back live tomorrow for members only. These are videos that are made specifically for the members only. They are never, ever made public, and we try to keep the subject matter a secret so that if you want to know what we're talking about, it's a much smaller group. It's more informal. It's like a group of friends hanging out versus a big public video. I love doing my members only videos. And we would love it if you'd consider becoming a member and supporting our mission here, which is to maintain our freedom. We don't have any corporate control here. So we're going to discuss what's really happening. If it's nonsense, like the Windows Update breaking SSDs, did you forget about that? Remember I told you it was a hoax? Had nothing to do with Microsoft. Never did. And it really didn't affect anybody in this chat room at all. I'm not aware of anybody it actually affected other than random strangers online. So that was made out, oh, don't install the update. Look at all the content creators that you fed off your clicks to scaring you about complete and utter nonsense. But yet, when the WinRing0 file flagged, I was on top of that. I was one of the first. Why? Because it was real. Did anybody else make videos? A few people. But what about the ones? What about those same people that were scaring you about an update that didn't actually do anything bad like they said? Did they come back and take those videos down? Nope, they're still up. That false information is still there. So we're not going to be able to change their behavior. They have freedom of speech, which is also freedom to lie. They can exploit your fear into clicks because, after all, that's what gets their bills paid. I can't blame them. But I would rather go broke than to play that game to earn $1. It's just, my integrity is not for sale. Or, I mean, everybody's got a price, but it would have to be really, really worth it. I'm just being honest. Everybody has a price. All right. But that being said, you know, I try to keep these videos on what's actually happening and make you aware when there are instances of mob mentality where there's a groupthink happening that is completely devoid of any reality. And I'm going to call that out. Even if I'm one guy against an army or a country, the truth is the truth. And so be it. If that becomes my demise, I would be much happier if I'm going down fighting than just selling off my soul or becoming a face in a tribe. I'm not interested in that. I never have been. And a lot of people, it's just easier to go with the group. If the group is going where I'm going, let's go. But I'm not changing my direction to accommodate the group. It's just not who I am. And as a result, I feel like I have content here that is very unique on YouTube that doesn't care about I don't care what the algorithm says. I don't care what time of day most people watch me. I don't care if I'm getting popular or less popular. I don't care. What matters is the information. And if the viewers appreciate it, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. That doesn't change anything for me other than production budget. That's it. So we can have glittering lights and showgirls if we're making a lot of money. But as long as we have each other, that's all we need to keep going. All right? There's no popularity contest I'm interested in. Oystein with a contribution in Super Chat with 100 Norwegian krona. Thank you for the great stream and info. Right on. Well, thank you, Oystein. I was going to say, just a real quick side note. There's a cheese they make in Norway that we heard about, Brunost. And there's a company that does sell it. They import it here. And we went to about 4 or 5 grocery stores, and we finally found it, a little square block of cheese. And you open this up, and it's supposed to be like no other cheese you've ever had, and it's a specialty of Norway. And Oystein's from Norway, so this is what brought this up. It looks like a big block of caramel. Like it's this brown, doesn't look like any cheese I've ever seen. Its texture is like cheese, but the color is like caramel. Slice a piece of this cheese off, tastes like caramel. This isn't cheese. Yes, it is. It's caramel flavored cheese. They call it Brunost. I personally find it a little too sweet. I'm not a big fan of sweets. But of all the cheeses I've ever had, there's nothing I've had like that. You might like it, you might not like it, but I didn't even know it existed until I saw somebody make a YouTube video, and I said, I'm curious, how bad could it be? Oystein says, yep, brown cheese. There you go. See, it's every day for Oystein. For me, what is this? I wish I would have liked it. I mean, I'm kind of glad I don't care for it because it's hard to find, and when you do find it, it's pricey. But on the other hand, it's great to be able to bond over something like that and go, oh yeah, he and I know. You guys don't know, but he and I know. You know what I mean? But regardless, it's not a secret. It's just not very well known here in the United States. Oystein says we have 10 different types of brown cheese. All I know is it doesn't taste like cheese. It tastes like a sweet treat. It tastes like a cheese textured caramel. It has the texture of cheese. It cuts like cheese. It chews like cheese, but it tastes like caramel. It is the weirdest. And they're like, oh yeah, we've been doing that for hundreds of years. Well, I was this many years old before I found out about it. Now I know. Oystein says you probably chose the wrong type. We only have one. I didn't have it chosen. It was this or nothing. Yeah. Fair point, though. There may be 9 other different variations, and I am a fussy eater, but maybe it would have been more attuned to my liking. But this is the popular one. Like this is the one they import to the United States, so I'm sure it's not obscure. In fact, if I show you the box, you'll probably say, oh yeah, that's. In fact, I can probably look real quick just out of curiosity. Some of you may be curious as well, so wrong keyboard. Ski Queen. That's exactly what it is. I keep using the wrong keyboard. So if I bring this video, or this web browser tab That's, if you're in America, that's what it looks like. That's the only one. As far as I know, unless you went to some kind of specialty shop, it's this and only this. And that's if you're lucky enough to find it. And we were looking, let me tell you, it took us 5 or 6 stores before we found it. All right, so thank you, Oystein. Thank you to everybody for hanging out with us today. Again, we hope you have a great, happy rest of your Sunday, your day of rest. For our members, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. With that, thank you to Marlena, of course, for all the work she does in the background with our thumbnails and video descriptions and links. We want to remind you that Oystein says they don't have that cheese in Norway. Yes, you do. It says as much. It says right on it, it's made in Norway at maybe the name of the factory that you would recognize. That's funny. Yeah, that might be a brand name they use in America, but it's, anyway. Where was I? Talking about we're back tomorrow, members only, 1 o'clock. Oh, and the Windows and Office license keys are back. See, I knew there was somewhere I was going with that. And of course, the links, as always, with the discount code are in our video notes below the video. If you're running into any problems or issues, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us. Our email address, I'm going to put it up one more time. That's a private email address if you want to talk to us. If you want to talk to each other, use our forums, CareyHolzman.boards.net. They're open 24/7. Make a message thread, talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's all free, and the link for that as well in the video notes in today's video description. All right, that'll wrap it up. And until next time, bye for now.